In the border star field of the Interstellar Federation, on the outskirts of the E-47 ruins, the corrosive mist wraps around the dilapidated alloy wreckage like a ghost. Chen was panting heavily, dragging his tattered expedition clothes on and kneeling in the muddy radioactive soil. His palms were scratched by sharp metal fragments, and blood dripped down and mixed into the pungent sulfur-smelling air. The mercenaries around him had already dispersed, leaving him alone, burdened with the family's astronomical debt, 500,000 federal coins, enough to keep a small family in slavery forever. "Wimpy Chen, do you really dare to come here?" The jeers in the tavern last night echoed in his mind. Those sturdy hunters patted his shoulders and breathed alcohol. 47. That's a federal restricted area. Even professional mecha masters don't dare to touch it. You kid can't even reach 10% synchronization rate, and you still want to pick up ancient wreckage to pay off your debt. Go home and lick the screen. Chen gritted his teeth and his eyes were red. He was originally a branch of the Yi family. His father died young, his mother was seriously ill, and his creditors came to break things every day. Dream of mecha competition? It's a joke to him. During the synchronization rate test, the audience burst into laughter. His poor score of 3.7% caused the examiner to weld his cockpit door shut. "Get out, trash." That roar is still ringing in my ears. Now, he's making a desperate move. Intelligence says that E-47 contains fragments of ancient mechas, which can be sold for astronomical prices. He climbed through the laser minefield, dodged the automatic turret, and finally got into the core cabin deep in the ruins. The air was filled with the smell of old metal rust, and the sound of footsteps echoed in the empty corridor, like the whisper of death. In front of me, a huge monster stood, Star Hunter, an ancient mecha. It is 20 meters tall, with jet-black nano-armor covering its whole body. The quantum engine on its chest emits a faint blue light. Its weapon arms are like the claws of a giant beast. They have various shapes and exude murderous aura that has been suppressed for thousands of years. Chen's heart was beating wildly. He reached out and touched the crystal panel of the cockpit. Instantly, a cold current rushed into my mind. Warning! Invasion of alien consciousness. The mechanical sound blasted in his head, and his vision turned white. Chen felt his body being torn apart, and his consciousness poured into the mecha's nerve network like a flood. The pain was like thousands of needles piercing his brain. He fell to his knees, blood spurted from his mouth, and his eyes were bloodshot. No. I don't want to die here. The surrounding ruins came to life. The floor cracked, laser nets shot from all directions, the automatic turret rotated, and the muzzle was aimed at him and roared to warm up. Chen held his head in despair, the shadow of death looming over him. He heard the laughter of the mercenaries repeating in his hallucination, "Trash, you deserve to die." Just when the laser was about to burn through his body, buzz. The cockpit door opened with a bang, and a blue light engulfed him. Consciousness synchronization completed. Chen's vision reorganized, and the mecha's senses flooded in. The low-frequency vibration of the engine was like a heartbeat, the thick touch of the armor was like a second layer of skin, and the energy pulse of the weapon arm beat at the fingertips. Human-machine integration. He is no longer useless, his thoughts are the instructions of the mecha, as smooth as breathing. Scanning system awakens. Host, Chen. Synchronization rate, 100%. Core modules unlocked, quantum engine, nano-self-repairing armor, multiform weapon arm. A translucent data screen appeared in the field of vision, a holographic projection of the ruins trap, a red dot marking the source of the laser, and a green line predicting the trajectory. Weakness analysis. The turret's energy core exposure rate is 67% and can be destroyed in one hit. Move. Chen thought in his mind, and the Star Hunter woke up. The quantum engine roared to life, the ground shook violently, the walls of the ruins cracked, and dust flew up like a sandstorm. The heavy alloy legs stepped on, making a loud crunching sound like metal crushing rocks, and each step made the air tremble. Chen felt like he had become a giant beast in the universe. The nano-armor automatically repaired old wounds and made a subtle buzzing self-healing sound. The laser net came, but Chen didn't panic. The data screen flashes, weakness lock, predict evasion path. The mecha turned sideways, its movements as smooth as water, and the laser passed by, scorching the air and leaving a burnt smell. The weapon arm extends and transforms into multiple forms, the laser blade unfolds. With a wave, the energy core of the fort exploded, flames shot into the sky, and fragments rained down. It's so relaxing. Chen murmured, excitement welling up in his heart. But the alarm on the data screen read, external threat is approaching. Federal Patrol, 3 standard mechas, with full firepower. Distance, 500 meters. Outside the ruins, the engine roared loudly. Carlos, the Federal Patrol captain, laughed on the communication channel, "Boy, can you touch E-47? After scanning, this is an ancient mecha. Ha, loser Chen, we are monitoring you all the way. A garbage with a synchronization rate of 3.7%, dared to touch forbidden objects. Brothers, capture him alive, the reward will be doubled." 3 patrol mechas rushed into the entrance to the ruins. They turned awkwardly, their engines sprayed blue flames, and their gun barrels locked. The deputy mecha master stared at the screen with wide eyes. "Captain, that mecha moved. It just cracked the minefield." "Impossible. Why can't the synchronization rate be read?" Carlos sneered, "No matter what antique it is, blast it." The main cannon fired a salvo, and the energy beam tore the air and roared like thunder. Chen's scanning system instantly analyzed, enemy aircraft A, armor thickness 12 cm, weak point engine heat dissipation vent, hit rate 99%. B, the weapon arm joint is loose and is predicted to break. C, the driver synchronization rate is 41%, and the response is 0.7 seconds slow. Tactical prediction, flanking, 0 casualties, 100% win rate. The Star Hunter jumped out, the quantum engine roared overload, and the speed increased sharply. The passage to the ruins was collapsed, and rubble was like a rain of meteorites. Chen controlled it with his thoughts, and the mecha flashed through the energy beam like a ghost. The nano-armor absorbed the aftermath, and the surface ripples repaired themselves, emitting a low hum. What? It escaped. The pilot of Patrol Mecha B's voice trembled, and the screen data jumped randomly. "Captain, this synchronization, the level of man-machine integration. We can't catch up." Carlos' face was ashen. "Nonsense. Lock on and shoot." But Chen was already approaching. The polymorphic weapon arm deforms, the particle whip is drawn out. The joint of Machine B was hit, sparks flew out, the arm was broken, and the pilot screamed, "Ah! My mecha!" Chen followed up ruthlessly, scanning and guiding the laser blade directly into the heat dissipation vent of Machine A. The explosion exploded, flames engulfed the mecha, and the pilot's scream suddenly stopped in the communication. "No way, this kid is a monster." Carlos was stunned, the mecha retreated, and the engine overloaded and screamed, "Federal Headquarters. Requesting support. The target possesses ancient technology, and the synchronization rate exceeds 100%. His eyes widened to the limit, the cockpit was soaked with sweat, and the smell of burnt circuits filled his nose. Chen sneered, and the data screen flashed the final tactics, full fire suppression. Star Hunter's weapon arm is fully extended, the quantum cannon is charged, and the blue light is dazzling. Boom! One shot shattered the leg of Carlos' mecha. He fell to the ground and rolled, the hatch cover popped open, and he crawled out with a disgraced face. Spare my life. Who are you?" Chen's voice came out through the loudspeaker, as low as a mecha engine. "Good for nothing Chen. Now, get out." The patrol collapsed, the wreckage was smoldering, and Carlos collapsed on the ground, muttering, "That scan, that speed, the Federation is finished, this is the legendary Star Hunter." His hands trembled as he pressed the distress signal, his eyes full of fear and admiration. Chen drove the mecha out of the ruins, the Star Hunter jumped into the canyon, the engine tail flames cut through the night sky, and the nano armor shone like a galaxy in the moonlight. He looked down at the burning wreckage at his feet and his heart surged, from now on, I will reverse everything. Debt, ridicule, the reputation of being useless. Mecha competition, here I come. The data screen suddenly flashed a new signal, encrypted communication access. Sender, Lin Fan, Senior Mecha Expert. Boy Chen, you found a treasure. It's the Star Hunter, an ancient heritage. I know all its secrets. Come to Galaxy Port and meet in secret. Be careful, Gu Han has already set his sights on you. Chen's pupils shrank, the mecha's engine roared and accelerated, rushing towards the starry sky. A bigger storm is coming. Chen flew the Star Hunter over the edge of the canyon at low altitude, suppressing the quantum engine into a low hum to avoid alerting the Federal Patrol drone. He chose an abandoned warehouse to land. The heavy alloy legs of the mecha hit the soft radiation mud, making a muffled sound like a giant beast landing, and the surrounding water surged. The nano-armor shrinks automatically, camouflaging itself into rusty remains, hiding in the shadows. Chen ejected from the cockpit, his tattered adventure suit covered in blood and mud, the wounds on his palms aching, and Carlos's screams echoing in his mind. He gasped and leaned on the mecha's legs, the data screen flashing at the edge of his field of vision, energy reserve 78%, sufficient fuel, external scan, 32 black market heat sources, low threat level. The black market of Galaxy Port is hidden in the fog-locked canyon of the Rim Star territory. The night is like ink pouring, and the neon tubes flash in the corrosive rain, reflecting the greasy sheen of the alloy stalls. The air was mixed with the pungent stench of motor oil, the burnt smell of burnt circuits, and the smoke of cheap tobacco spewed by street gangsters. The low roar of the engine came from all directions, the illegally modified motorcycle shuttled through the narrow alleys, its tires crushed puddles and splashed dirty arcs. Galaxy Port, Lin Fan, you'd better be worth the risk. Chen murmured and glanced around. The family debt is like a shackle weighing heavily on my heart. The creditor sent me a message last night, my mother's condition has worsened. If she doesn't pay back the money, she will sell her organs. He gritted his teeth and sneaked into the black market alley. In the black city center, a crowd gathered in front of a makeshift mecha clinic. Chen pushed open the rusty iron door, and there was smoke inside. The walls were covered with second-hand engine parts, and the buzzing welding sparks were dazzling. Several greasy repairmen gathered around a simulation cabin, and their laughter cut through the air like razor blades. Did you hear about that loser Chen from E-47? The entire patrol was wiped out. It must have been a self-explosion in the minefield. He is wanted by the federal government with a bounty of 500,000 yuan. A bald man puffed out smoke, slapped the table and laughed. People around him echoed, and beer foam splashed out. The synchronization rate is 3.7%. You still want to pick up ancient mechas? Go home and lick the screen. Another thin man smiled sinisterly and glanced at the door. Hey, isn't this the trash from the Yi family? Come to sell your kidneys to pay off your debts. The eyes of the audience were like arrows, and the ridicule was like a tide. Chen clenched his fists and his face was ashen. He recognized some of these people, the spectators in the pub last night. Now, their eyes widened, and their noses smelled the strange smell of blood and engine oil on his body, and doubts emerged. Wait, how did your kid climb out of E-47? Where is the patrol? Chen snorted coldly and was about to speak when an old voice came from the back cabin. That's enough. You maggots, get out of here. The door curtain opened and Lin Fan appeared, around 60 years old, with white hair, eyes as sharp as falcons, his work clothes were stained with quantum oil, and he was holding a data tablet in his hand. He glanced at Chen and his pupils suddenly shrank. Boy, you really brought it. Star Hunter, the ghost mecha of the ancient empire. Legend has it that the strongest prototype before the collapse of the empire, the scanning system can analyze the weaknesses of all things. The Federation has been chasing it for 100 years, and you kid found a treasure. The faces of the repairmen around were pale, and the bald man's cigarette fell to the ground. His hands trembled when he stepped on it. Mr. Lin. Star Hunter. Impossible, that thing has long been extinct. The thin man backed away and muttered, this loser, is in sync. Lin Fan ignored them and pulled Yi Chen into the back cabin. Boy, don't talk nonsense. The consciousness is 100% synchronized. I know it from monitoring the residual wave. The miserable situation of the patrol is a hot topic on the internet. But the energy core is unstable, you have to train. Simulation cabin, get in now. The simulation cabin is top-notch on the black market, a metal sphere with a radius of 5 meters, a holographic star field projected on the inner wall, and the engine simulates vibrations as real as possible. Yi Chen lay down, buckled the crystal helmet on, and cold electricity rushed through his brain. Buzz. Synchronized consciousness, the Star Hunter's senses flooded in, the heartbeat of the quantum engine roared, the thick embrace of the nano-armor, and the pulse of the weapon arm extended like blood. Man and machine merged into one, he felt like he was the 20-meter giant beast, and his thoughts were his instructions, flowing smoothly without any lag. The scanning system is fully open. Analysis component, main gun, starburst ray, peak energy output 500 gigawatts, range 10 light seconds, overheating risk 12%. Leg thrusters, superlight teleportation module, activation requires a synchronization rate of more than 95%, and the space distortion effect is confirmed. The data screen covers the field of vision like a spider web, with red and blue lights marking every inch of the machine body, making the weaknesses and strengths clearly visible. Lin Fan was controlling from outside the cabin, his voice trembling through the communication. Boy, virtual opponent, 3 Imperial Remnant mechas, standard configuration. Activate. The holographic star field unfolds, against the dark space background, 3 enemy planes attack like wolves. Their engines sprayed orange-red flame tails, they turned awkwardly, their main guns hummed with energy, and their muzzles locked onto Yi Chen. Lin Fan stared at the data screen and murmured, the average driver is 40% synchronized, and the response lags 0.5 seconds. What about you? Yi Chen thought, and the Star Hunter jumped up. The leg thrusters roared, the nano-armor ripples spread, and the speed increased dramatically. Enemy plane A's main gun fired a salvo, the energy beam tore through the virtual vacuum, and a heat wave hit the face. The data screen flashed, the enemy's adjoint weakness is exposed, the torque is insufficient, and the hit rate is 98%. Yi Chen dodged sideways, his movements were like water, the energy beam brushed against his body, the cabin simulated hot wind burning his face, and the burning smell filled the air. Hide, dodge. Lin Fan's eyes widened, the tablet data jumped wildly, and his fingers trembled when pressing the keys. The synchronization rate reads 99.8%. The integration of man and machine, this is genius level. Yi Chen ignored it, stretched his weapon arm, and transformed into multiple forms, the laser blade unfolded, buzzing and cutting the air. One wave. Hitting enemy A's knee joint directly, sparks exploded, virtual wreckage scattered, and the pilot's phantom scream echoed, impossible. My mecha. Enemies B and C were outflanking them, their particle whips and missiles fired in unison, and their tail flames drew a dazzling arc of light. The repairmen were crowded outside the cabin. The bald man's mouth opened in an O shape, this loser, killed instantly with one hit. What happened to the synchronization rate? The thin man backed up and hit the wall, his collar soaked with sweat. Monster, he was laughed at by us just now. Weakness lock, B thruster is overloaded, C pilot is delayed for 0.3 seconds. Tactics, teleport side attack. Yi Chen activated the leg thrusters, the space was distorted like ripples, and he teleported at superlight speed. The mecha ghost appears on the B flank, the main cannon starburst rays are charged, and the blue light is dazzling like a star explosion. Boom! 500 gigawatts of energy poured out, Machine B turned into a fireball, and debris hit C like a rain of meteorites. Lin Fan was stunned and yelled, "Teleport module." The ancient empire's black technology, the Federation can't even imitate it. Your boy is the chosen one. Yi Chen pursued, the particle whip was drawn out, and the tip of the whip wrapped around the C joint like a living snake. Pull it. The sound of breaking was like the scream of metal, the enemy plane rolled and crashed, and the explosion flames engulfed the holographic screen. The cabin was vibrating violently, and the simulated roar of the engine was deafening. Yi Chen felt adrenaline surge and sweat dripped down his forehead. The hatch opened, and a clear female voice sounded, "The energy fluctuations are abnormal. Who is using the Empire module?" Su-won burst in, her tall figure wrapped in an engineer's tights, her long hair tied into a ponytail, her tool belt jingling, and holding a quantum probe. He is in his early 20s, with eyes as bright as stars and an oil stain on the tip of his nose. She stared at the data screen, her pupils dilated. "Star Hunter. The scanning and analysis accuracy is 99%. This synchronization is impossible." Lin Fan gasped and smiled, "Warner, you're here at the right time. This kid Yi Chen is a useless counterattack. Help with debugging. The energy core fluctuates greatly." Su-won approached the simulation cabin, inserted the probe into the interface, and sparks flew everywhere. She glanced at Yi Chen, her pretty face slightly red but her eyes sharp. "Good for nothing. I've seen the federal champion Gu Han fail to achieve the teleportation just now. Let me see the output of the main gun." Her fingers flew across the tablet, and data flowed like a waterfall. Yi Chen stood up from the cabin, his vision data faded and his body trembled slightly. Su-won's touch made the mecha hum, and the nanoarmor's self-repair buzzed. She exclaimed, "The component affinity is 100%. Boy, how did you synchronize it? The energy core is unstable, overloaded by 5%, and it will explode if you practice again." The repairmen around him were kneeling on their knees, and the bald man kowtowed, "Brother Yi, have mercy on us. We are blind, and you will be the boss from now on." The thin man trembled, "That scanning, magic skill." Yi Chen smiled lightly, feeling relieved in his heart, "It's okay." But the energy core alarm suddenly sounded, "Overload warning, core pulse instability, explosion risk 27%. The simulation cabin shook violently, fire erupted from the interface, heat waves hit the face, and the burning smell was pungent. Su-won pounced on her, the probe flashing wildly, "Steady. Inject stabilizer." She bit her lip, beads of sweat slid down her neckline, and her engineer instinct exploded, suppressing the fluctuations within a minute. After the crisis was resolved, Lin Fan wiped his sweat and his eyes flashed, "Boy, I have mastered the basic operations. The Star Hunter is the legacy of the Imperial Overlord, but the core needs to be upgraded. Listen, the interstellar mecha competition will start in 3 days. The Galaxy Port qualifiers, the winner will go straight to the finals, and the bonus will be tens of millions, enough for you to pay off your debts and marry a wife. Sign up, that guy Gu Han is coveting the ancient mecha." Yi Chen clenched his fist, "Repay." As he finished speaking, the data screen intrusion alarm, encrypted provocative message access. Sender, Gu Han, current champion. The holographic projection unfolded, and Gu Hanjuan's face appeared. In the background was his king mecha, Frost Blade, and the engine roared, "Good for nothing Yi Chen, I saw the farce of E-47. Star Hunter. Be mine. See you in the preliminaries. If you don't kneel down and beg for mercy, I will crush you." The message was cut off and the cabin was dead silent. Su-won widened her beautiful eyes and held the probe tightly, "Gu Han, the synchronization rate is 92%, first in the Federation. He is targeting you." Lin Fan smiled darkly, "Boy, the storm is coming. Prepare for a counterattack. Yi Chen's eyes were like daggers. Star Hunter responded with a low voice outside the warehouse, and the quantum engine was ready to go. The rain in the black market became more intense at night, and the neon lights reflected his figure, elongating it into the shadow of a giant beast. A bigger battlefield is about to be ignited. The night rain in the black market whipped against the alloy roof. Amidst the crackling sound, Lin Fan's data tablet buzzed, and the registration interface for the Galaxy Port qualifiers popped up. The holographic projection flashes with a blood-red countdown. 3 days later, at midnight, the fog-locked arena. You losers, come and die. Yi Chen pressed his fingers like iron pincers to confirm, and the system responded coldly. Wanted criminal Yi Chen, temporarily exempted, black market wild card. Battle against the black market veteran, Iron Wall Beast pilot, Baron. Boy, that bastard Gu Han must be watching. Lin Fan frowned, and the cigarette ash fell. The Iron Wall Beast is the overlord of the black market. Its heavy armor blocks the main guns of the Federal cruiser. The Baron synchronization rate is 78%. It is an old Jianghu. Single elimination in the preliminaries. Destroy the opponent within 180 seconds or the timer will reset to 0. Your energy core is not stable. You lose the mecha and return it to the public. There is no hope of repaying the debt. Su Wan bit her lip, her ponytail swung, and the probe was still inserted into the Star Hunter command module interface. I optimized the nanometer self-study overnight, and the overload was reduced to 3%. But the teleportation module has high heat, so don't abuse it. Yi Chen, be careful. Her eyes were complicated, and the oil on her cheeks reflected the cabin light, and the strange fragrance of a girl's body fragrance mixed with engine oil was faintly transmitted. Yi Chen nodded and cracked his knuckles with his fists. The debt is 500,000, and my mother is waiting for the money to treat her illness. Lose. Doesn't exist. The black market repairman gathered around, and the bald man handed over the energy drink, his voice trembling. Brother Yi, the Iron Wall Beast smashed 3 Federal Standard equipment last time. We bet on you to win. Everyone in the black market will watch the live broadcast. 3 days passed by like lightning. Lin Fan's clinic was turned into a temporary base. Su Wan was welding day and night, and sparks were like a shower of stars. Yi Chen was in retreat in the simulation cabin, with a torrent of data in his head, and the synchronization rate was locked at 100%. The wanted order has been upgraded, the bounty has soared to 800,000, Federal drones are hovering at low altitude, and the sound of hunting engines is faintly heard in the black market fog. But Yi Chen's figure has become a legend, and he is a good-for-nothing against the gods. At midnight, Fog Lock Arena. At the core of the Galaxy Port, at the junction of the black market and the Federation, the giant dome is like a steel beast opening its mouth, and the floating screen on the inner wall flashes a competition timer with a dazzling red light. The air is hot and humid and smelly, mixed with the smell of sweat, fuel vapor, and burnt metal. The surrounding stands of tens of thousands of people are boiling like ant nests. Illegal betting machines are buzzing and swallowing coins. The gang bosses are spraying cigar smoke and locking the mecha hatch with greedy eyes. Iron Wall Beast. King of the Black Market. The audience roared, and under the spotlight, Baron's Iron Wall Beast rumbled into the room. The 30-meter steel fortress has titanium alloy plates stacked on its surface. Its legs hit the ground like tellurium pillars. The ground cracked and trembled. The engine roared like a beast from hell awakening, and black smoke spewed out of the exhaust port choking the nose. Baron's holographic projection appeared, a 50-year-old strong man with scars all over his face, grinning ferociously. Little loser Yi Chen. 3.7% of the synchronized garbage, the lucky one who self-destructed in the patrol. I will blast you into a discus. The mecha belongs to me, and the body is sold for organs. The stands were ridiculing, you trash, go home and lick the screen. The wanted criminal is here to give you the treasure. 99% of the betting screen was overwhelming the Iron Wall Beast, and Yi Chen's odds were 1:500. Lin Fan and Su Wan were in the VIP cabin, fists clenched. Lin Fan murmured, "Put it down low, and bounce it up high." Su Wan's face turned pale. "Baron's armor, even the federal test cannon can't penetrate it." Boom! The Star Hunters have arrived. The quantum engine erupted with a low roar, and the nano-armor rippled in the fog. The 20-meter-long body landed gracefully, with only a slight tremor in the leg pressing the ground, without any unnecessary vibration. The cabin door popped open, and Yi Chen jumped out. His tattered adventure suit was replaced by an enhanced battle suit. The wound on his palm had healed, and his eyes were like starbursts charging up energy. The whole audience was silent, and then burst into laughter. This piece of junk. Star Hunter. It must be a fake. Baron grinned ferociously. The iron wall beast turret rotated, the 8 heavy particle cannons buzzed with energy, and blue arcs filled the muzzles. "Garbage, kneel down and beg for mercy, I will keep your whole body." The host hologram shouted, "The first game of the qualifiers. The timer starts, 180 seconds. Destroy or reset to 0, the winner passes." Drops, red light flashes, the timer beats like a heartbeat, 179, 178. The energy field of the arena rises, isolating leakage, internal vacuum simulation, black screen projection in space, and star embellishment. The iron wall beast took the lead in charging, the tracks on its legs grinding against the ground like thunder, the alloy plates clanging against each other. The speed reached the edge of the speed of sound, and the heavy artillery fired. The particle beam roared like 8 thunder dragons, tearing the air and hitting the face with a heat wave, filling the air with a burning smell, and melting the ground into a glass pit. Yi Chen's consciousness is synchronized. The crystal helmet is buckled on, cold current rushes through the brain, and the world becomes a sea of data. The Star Hunter wakes up, man and machine become one, thoughts are actions, nano-armor pulses like a second skin, and quantum engine heartbeats roar in sync with the chest. Scan full open. Target, Iron Wall Beast. Analysis of heavy armor. The titanium alloy layer is 2.7 meters thick and has peak resistance. However, the energy pipeline is exposed. The hidden interface in the abdomen has an overload traffic of 150 gigawatts and a weak spot hit rate of 97%. Joint hydraulic buffering lags by 0.4 seconds. The vision is covered with cobwebs, and the red line marks the pipeline blueprint, as precise as a scalpel. Hide. Impossible. Baron laughed wildly. The heavy artillery tracked and fired, the particle beam network blocked the entire area, and the stands cheered loudly. Lin Fan stared. Energy pipeline. Ancient scan, amazing. Su Wan covered her mouth. The synchronization is perfect, but the timer is 150 seconds, can he handle it? Yi Chen thought, and the leg thrusters sprayed blue flames. The nano ripples spread, the Star Hunter maneuvers like a ghost at high speed, the trajectory predicts the arc, the particle beam flashes sideways, the heat wave burns the skin, and the alarm in the cabin screams. The iron wall beast turned around awkwardly, the engine overloaded and roared, and black smoke spewed out. "You little bastard, are you fast? Let me blast you." 20 missiles escaped from the cabin, and the tail flame streaked the fire snakes, exploding into a sea of fireballs. The shock wave rolled over the ground like a hurricane, and the gravel splashed and choked the nose. The whole audience gasped. Did it flash? The useless mecha is so flexible. The black market boss dropped his cigar and his eyes bulged. The synchronization rate is at least 90%. But with 120 seconds on the clock, the iron wall beast pressed on, and the giant fist came. The wind pressure was like a landslide, and the alloy fist buzzed and charged for plasma blast. Yi Chen sneered, stretched his weapon arm, and transformed into multiple forms. The laser arm blade unfolded, the blue light blade was 10 meters long, cutting the air hissingly. Weakness lock, pipeline interface. Trajectory prediction, 0.4 seconds lag. The thruster sprays again, and the ghost comes around the back. The arm blade cut into the hidden plate seam in the abdomen like lightning, sparks exploded, the metal screamed, and the pipeline broke and sprayed blue arc flames. Boom, the iron wall beast's belly exploded, a torrent of energy leaked out, and the system alarm echoed throughout the venue, overload. 27% damaged. Baron's face was ashen and he was sweating like rain. Impossible. My pipelines are perfectly hidden, how do you know? The iron wall beast staggered, the armor plates peeled off, and black oil stains were splashed everywhere. The dead silence of the stands turned boiling. Cut. A heavy blow. The repairman jumped up. Brother Ye's magic skill. Scanning system. With 90 seconds on the clock, Baron's red eyes said, Rage mode. Fully activated. The iron wall beast's engine roared, red light pulsed all over the body, the armor plate popped open to reveal the built-in thruster, the speed increased sharply, and the plasma of fists hit like a meteor shower, the ground exploded and cratered continuously, the heat wave scorched the air, and the smell of ozone was pungent. The stands screamed, the veteran has gone crazy. The loser is dead. Chen's visual field data flashed wildly, violent trajectory prediction, punch speed 1.2 Mach, blind left wing 0.3 seconds. Starburst ray charging, 500 gigawatts locked core. The leg teleportation module is activated. The space ripples distorted, and the Star Hunter disappeared and reappeared on the left wing. Su-1 exclaimed in the cabin, teleport. The energy core is stable, the overload increases by 4%. Lin Fan slapped the table, the chosen one. The main gun starburst rays accumulate energy, and the blue light from the muzzle is like a star gestating, and the buzzing sound shakes the soul. Iron Wall Beast brushed its fist against itself, and plasma exploded the bulkhead with sparks, but it was too late. Boom, 500 gigawatts of energy poured out, and the blue-white light beam penetrated the core. The Iron Wall Beast froze, and the internal chain explosions were like a volcanic eruption. The fragments were scattered like a rain of meteorites. Baron's phantom screamed, "My iron wall, ah!" The wreckage hit the ground with a loud noise, smoke and dust rose into the sky, and the smell of burnt metal filled the entire place. Timer resets to 0, midnight. Green light flashed, Chen wins. Go straight to the next round. The whole place was petrified for 3 seconds, and then there was an earthquake-like revelry, good for nothing. Sweep away the black market veterans. Scanning skills, invincible teleportation. The black market bosses knelt down and crushed their cigars. Brother Yi, the black market is yours. The betting machine spit out coins like a waterfall, and the repairman burst into tears. We are blind. Brother Yi is the overlord. Baron climbed out of the wreckage, smashed his knees on the ground, and said with a trembling voice, "Monster, forgive me, how did the pipeline be exposed?" In the VIP cabin, Lin Fan held his head and laughed, his beard and hair trembling. Boy. 100% synchronization, even the federal champion is miserable. Su-1 threw herself at the screen, her ponytail swung wildly, and her beautiful eyes flashed with tears. The parts are compatible, perfect. You saved the black market face. Her fingers flew, and the remote probe scanned the Star Hunter, and suddenly she was shocked. Wait, there is a chip in the core. Ancient data, heritage of the ancient empire. In the shadow of the stands, Gu Han's holographic projection sneered, and the king's mecha frost blade murmured, "Interesting, loser. But you will see the truth in the preliminaries. Star Hunter, you will soon be mine." His eyes were like frost blades, piercing Yi Chen's cabin door. The sirens on the arena dome blared, the red light swept like a blood net, the federal drone swarms swooped down like silver locusts, the laser-locked Star Hunter hatch buzzed, and the air was filled with the scorching stench of melted circuits. Before the smoke and dust cleared, black bubbles were still rising from Baron's wreckage. The audience's carnival stopped abruptly and turned to whispers of panic. The Federation is coming. Lock the mecha, Brother Yi is finished. The black market bosses turned pale, and the cigar holders held trembling hands, and the repairmen crowded in. In front of them, the bald man shouted, "Brother Yi, stop the black market. Throw all the money we deposited into it." They rushed towards the drone, the welding guns sprayed sparks, the arc exploded and rained down sparks, and the temporary energy grid buzzed to block the first wave of fire. Chen fisted the handle of the cabin, and the data screen flashed a red alert, energy core overloaded by 6%, teleportation cooldown 120 seconds. Federation invasion signal, chip encryption upgrade, Empire files are being downloaded, the cosmic black hole plan, the extermination weapon concealed by the interstellar alliance. The chest cavity is tight and painful, the quantum engine roars unsteadily, and the nanoarmor pulses like an arrhythmia. Outside the cabin, Lin Fan's holographic projection appeared in the VIP cabin. "Boy, the energy is unstable. Su Wan, disconnect the main power supply and force sleep simulation." Su Wan shook her sweat, her probe fingers flew, and her voice trembled. "The overload has increased. The heat of the chip is rising, the scanning system is self-checking. Wait, the function of simulating the full battle situation is unlocked. But the federal badge is flashing, and the detention order is broadcast live nationwide." The fog-locked dome cracked, the Federation cruiser projected like a giant beast opening its mouth, the mechanical arm stretched out to grab it, and the wind pressure rolled up the gravel and choked its nose. The black market boss knelt down and shouted, "Brother Yi is our king. Get out of the Federation." They detonated makeshift bombs, the flames shot into the sky and obscured their vision, and the smoke spread like ink. With a thought in Yi Chen's mind, the Star Hunter's leg thrusters ejected microblue flames, and the nanoripples shrank into a low profile. The ghost slid sideways under the cruiser's arms, the engine roared over the siren, and it knocked through the crowd and rushed out of the arena. The sound of gunshots from behind was like popping beans, and the drones chased the flames across the night sky. The stand screamed, "The loser escaped. The black market rebels." As the host exclaimed, the organizers' Federation badge flashed, "Abnormality detection. The investigation into the origin of Star Hunter has been launched. The driver Yi Chen will be detained for review." The arena alarm sounded, the drones buzzed down, and the red light locked on the Star Hunter. Yi Chen held the cabin handle with his fist, and the data screen intruded the alarm, "Chip unlocked, Imperial Conspiracy Archives, Cosmic Black Hole Project." The energy core trembled slightly, the blue flames gathered momentum, and under the fog-locked dome, the storm escalated. "Old Yi. You saved my life in the border war 5 years ago. This time I hacked into the federal network and delayed the detention order for 3 hours." Han Zhao's voice was urgent, and he slapped the Star Hunter command module. The terminal cable was inserted into the chip interface, and the green light pulse rushed in. The chip is the legacy of the ancient empire. The scan not only analyzes the weaknesses, but also simulates the entire battle. The prediction rate of a 10-machine melee battle is 99%, but the energy is unstable and will collapse. Su Wan pushed him away, her ponytail swept her face, her cheeks were shiny. "Get out of the way. Nano data is uploaded, the adaptive deformation layer is activated, the durability is increased by 30%, and the overload is reduced to 2%. Sparks flew, the welding gun scoffed, the surface ripples changed like living things, and the hardness test screen exploded green, perfect fit. Lin Fan smoked a cigarette and laughed, his beard trembling. "Boy, the rematch will be broadcast tomorrow night at the main arena of Galaxy Harbor, all interstellar. Hosted by the Federation, mid-level opponents gathered. You are a wild card in the black market, but that guy Gu Han is personally watching. Han Xiao, all the chips are unlocked." Han Zhao's eyes widened, and the terminal buzzed and spat out the holographic blueprint, "Unlocked. Scan and simulate the entire field, heat map in real time, weapon deformation upgrade level, whip and sickle mode, pull and blast." But the Imperial Archives. The Alliance uses ancient mechas to open black holes to devour enemy stars. Gu Han's mecha may be hiding the key. Su Wan gasped and touched Yi Chen's arm with trembling fingers. Yi Chen, this is not just a competition. I will pay 500,000 for your mother's debt, but don't show off. The quantum engine gasped, black smoke seeped out from the exhaust port, the Star Hunter passed through the foggy alley at low altitude, the alloy saws cracked the black market alloy road, and the tremors were transmitted into the cabin like a heartbeat. Yi Chen gritted his teeth, Mom's medicine money, can't stop. The data screen flashed, fuel is 85%, but the core pulse is unstable, and the risk of overload in the next battle is 40%. 10 minutes later, on the secret landing pad, the lift platform in the back alley of Lin Fan Clinic opened with a bang. Su Wan and a mysterious figure jumped out, Han Xiao, Yi Chen's old comrade in arms, tall and thin with black hair, eyes like data flow, holding a cracked terminal, old military uniform stained with oil. At dusk the next day, the main arena of the galaxy port, the interstellar hub, the million-ton dome was like a galactic vortex, the inner wall of the floating screen surrounded the holographic star map, thousands of spacecraft were circling around, and live broadcast signals were shot to hundreds of galaxies. The air was crisp with ozone, and the fuel vapor was mixed with the stench of the audience's sweat. The federal generals in the VIP area sprayed cologne and looked down with cold eyes, black market waste. It was a fluke in the preliminaries, and the mid-level federal elites in the semi-finals were eliminated in 180 seconds. The stands were boiling, the betting machines swallowed up coins like a river, and Yi Chen's odds soared to 1:200. From Gu Han's shadow seat, a sneer projection appeared, Star Hunter, the energy is unstable. My Frost Overlord is 95% synchronized, waiting for you to deliver it to your door. The host holographic roar, the first game of the semi-finals. Yi Chen vs the captain of the intermediate federal school, Thunder Eagle pilot, Victor. 85% synchronization, the missile rain king. The timer flashed red light, 180, 179. The energy field rose, the vacuum space was simulated, and the black stars twinkled. The Thunder Eagle entered the scene. The 25-meter Hawkwing mecha, its engine screamed like tearing metal, and the 100-shot missile bay under the wing stored red light pulses. Victor's projection grinned ferociously, good for nothing, crappy stuff from the black market in the qualifiers. I'll overwhelm you with missiles. The audience sneered, go away, black market. The Federation is invincible. Lin Fan clenched his fists, push down, shoot up. Su Wan monitored the screen, her palms wet with sweat, new armor test, hot map on. Yi Chen buckles his helmet and synchronizes his consciousness. Ice and electricity rush to the brain, man and machine become one, the nanodeformation layer pulsates like flesh and blood, and the quantum engine roars steadily. Scan full open. Thunderhawk's weakness, missile cabin overheating, real-time heat map, 99% evasion trajectory prediction. Full game simulation, winning rate 97%. The field of view is filled with heat maps, with red and orange enemy missiles and blue lines for your own side, and it is as accurate as a god. Thunderhawk wingspan, rain of missiles pouring down. Hundreds of firework snakes roared and exploded into a sea of fireballs. The shock wave was like a nuclear explosion rolling over the ground. The heat wave roasted the cabin and the smell was pungent, and molten pits formed on the ground. Yi Chen jumped out of the cabin, cracking his joints with his fists, and his eyes were as bright as stars. Thank you, brothers. Rematch, 3 consecutive wins, prove the king of the black market. The black market repairmen gathered around, the strong men knelt down, their voices trembling. Brother Yi, I bet on you to win. The Federal Network beats you 1:300. Baron came over on crutches, with a scarred face, I'm messing with you, sold the remains of the iron wall, sponsored the energy crystal. Timing 120 seconds, Yi Chen's weapon arm deforms. It stretches into a whip and sickle in many forms, with a blue light sickle blade 10 meters long, and the whip body is nano-wound and thrown out like a living snake, hissing and cutting the air. It wraps around the roots of the Thunder Eagle's wings, pulling with great force and buzzing, the armor tears and the metal screams, the missile bay is exposed and spits out fire. Victor's face was livid, and beads of sweat were flying. Monster. How did the whip and sickle change? Chen sneered and tugged, the Thunder Eagle hit the ground unbalanced, the sickle blade whirled to the core, the explosive volcano erupted, fragments of meteorites scattered in the rain, and the smell of burnt air filled the air. The timer reaches 0, Chen wins. The whole audience gasped, the missile network is completely sealed. The waste evaporates. Han Zhao's tactical channel whispered, the left wing blind spot, the low temperature zone of the heat map, teleport in. Chen's heart moved, and the new armor adaptively deformed, the surface was liquid hardened to block Gray's bombs, the thrusters erupted with blue flames, the heat map guided arcs to dodge, and the fireballs flew past the bulkhead and exploded with sparks, without a single hit. The Thunderhawk turned awkwardly, its engine overloading. The spectators glared, dodged a hail of bullets. A magical skill with a heat map? The federal general dropped his cigar. Impossible, the middle-level elites were defeated miserably. The VIP area exploded, and the federal school official trembled, a winning streak. Nano deformation, adaptive. The black market crowd roared, Shen. Scanning is invincible. Su-Wan burst into tears on the screen, the durability is improved to perfection, overload is 1.5%. In the second game, the enemy was flanked by 2 aircraft. The mid-level hunter-killer team had a synchronization of 88% and was blocked by the laser net. The desire to rise is suppressed, Chen's energy dropped slightly, his armor was scratched, and the audience laughed, the dream of winning streak is broken. Han Zhao assisted, full-field simulation, triangular blind spot. The scanning heat map flashed, the whip and sickle danced wildly, pulled and collided, and exploded, and the wreckage of the 2 machines exploded like fireworks. The stands kneeled in admiration, second victory in a row. The black market overlord dominates the federal field. In the third scene, thickly armored tank type, heavy artillery roared like thunder, and the ground shook and cracked. But the energy instability alarm flashed, and Chen was sweating like rain in the cabin. Su-Wan shouted urgently, the core is stable. Han Zhao, the simulation winning rate is 95%, whip and sickle to lock the joints. After the heat map missile dodged, the sickle blade cut into it, pulling the tank to roll and explode, with flames shooting into the sky. The whole audience turned petrified and went crazy, 3 consecutive wins. The loser rebels against the gods, the legend of the interstellar world. The betting machine spit out coins, and the federal general's face turned green. This scan, ancient times. In the shadow of the dome, the Gu Hanzhuang blade mecha rumbles down, no, the frost overlord. The 30-meter ice-blue behemoth, with pulsating frost on its surface, its engine humming like a ghost, synchronized projections looked coldly, Chen, 3 consecutive wins. At the end of the qualifiers, I challenge it myself. Your Star Hunter, scan me and try. Chen's vision locked, scan start. Frost Overlord, hidden mode, black hole engine, Empire key matching rate 89%. Weakness, the energy vortex under the frost layer will collapse if overloaded. But the alarm flashed wildly, the federal government closed the area, drones surrounded it, and Gu Han teamed up to turn off the phone. The energy core trembles slightly, the blue flames gather momentum, the star map black hole file is projected in the mind, and crises are coming like a tide. Lin Fan held his head and laughed, boy, the Federation is in disgrace. Han Zhao's terminal flashed, chip upgrade, full simulation unlock star map prediction. Su-Wan hugged Chen's arm, her body scent mixed with machine oil hitting her nose. You did it, but Gu Han is here. Chen punched the bulkhead, beads of sweat rolled down his face and he gritted his teeth. Gu Han, your team is here to die first. The Star Hunter engine roared, the nanolayers pulsed like blood, and the dual-core pulse preheated the blue flames to gain momentum. But the energy alarm flashed glaringly, overload increased by 2.5%, drone lock rate 87%. Gu Han's projection enlarged with a sneer, the Frost Overlord's frost layer condensed into mist, and the ghost cry of the engine reverberated. Final preliminaries, team warm-up. Chen, try your scan on my brother. For mid-level Frost Blade guards rumbled in, a pack of 20-meter ice blue wolves, laser claw blades humming and accumulating. The formation formed a rhombus to block the retreat. Victor's remnant party projection grinned ferociously. Good for nothing, 3 consecutive wins by chance. Federal elites, freeze you. The dome's red alert pulsed like blood, a swarm of federal drones buzzed and circled, the laser net shrank into an iron barrel, and the smell of ozone and burnt fuel in the air intertwined into a suffocating mist. The audience screamed and dispersed, the betting machines crashed and spit out coins like a flood. The federal generals in the VIP area were livid, and cigar ashes were scattered, closed. Black market waste, buckle on the ancient chips. The black market bosses roared and rushed forward, spraying fire from the welding guns to block the rays. Baron roared on his crutch, Brother Yi, all the energy crystals are for you. The black market fights the Federation to death. Lin Fan's holographic projection trembled, boy, teleport to break out. Su Wan, hot map navigation. The timer reaches 0 and flashes wildly, final preselection, let's start the battle. The laser rain from the drone poured down, the fire line scratched the cabin and melted, and the heat wave burned the face and the smell was astonishing. With the wingspan of the Frostblade Guard, extremely cold mist spewed out like a white tornado, cracks in the ground spread from instantaneous freezing, ice spikes shot out like a forest of spears, and the high-frequency screams of the engines tore through the air. Chen groaned in the cabin, the nano-hardened legs of the Star Hunter crushed the ice, and the blue flame microjet of the thruster slid sideways. However, the first wave of ice field locked the cabin, the temperature plummeted to -100 degrees, and the data screen was frosted and blurred, field suppression, synchronized to 98%. The audience laughed wildly, the loser is frozen. Gu Han is invincible. Gu Han's team approached with a ferocious smile, and the central guards slashed with their claw blades. The metal screamed and sparks rained down, scan. I'm forming an iron wall. Lin Fan shouted, put it down, shoot up. The blind spot of the heat map. Su Wan fluttered at the screen with tears in her eyes, Chen, dual core pulse is on. I will pay for mother's medicine again, and we will win alive. Han Zhao's terminal flew, I hacked into the federal channel, and the drone was delayed for 30 seconds, the ancient chip showed that the Imperial Mecha had slaughtered alien insect swarms, and this formation was as broken as a cluster of insect eggs. Chen bit his blood and smiled, and his mind exploded, scan the entire field for markings, the weak core of the formation center is exposed. Hyperspace jump unlocked. The thrusters roared like thunder splitting the sky, the space distorted the blue vortex swallowing machine, the Star Hunter ghost teleported through the heart of the rhombus formation, the nano whip and sickle stretched and danced wildly, and the blue light sickle blade hissed and cut through the fog. The first guard glared and the projection was distorted, teleport through the formation. The whip was wrapped around the neck and pulled, the huge force buzzed and tore the frost armor, ice shards sprayed like a snowstorm, and the core was exposed to store starburst rays, boom. Blue and white light beams penetrated, explosions of fireballs shot into the sky, the smell of burnt metal filled the air, and the wreckage hit the ground and shook the whole place. The formation broke instantly, the wing guards turned around awkwardly, and slashed through the ice mist with their claw blades. Sweep the whole place by one person. Gu Han's projection pupils shrank suddenly, and his voice trembled for the first time, impossible, the central guards are 92% synchronized. The petrification of the stands turned crazy, and the strong men in the black market knelt down and shouted, Chen teleport God. Whip and sickle slaughter the team. The federal general's cigar fell to the ground, with a face as green as a corpse, Gu Han's team, is a sign of total destruction. Yi Chen's integration of man and machine is as smooth as a dance. The heat map predicts an arc flash, the second teleport cuts into the blind spot, the whip sickles arms to form and pulls the third guard to hit the second, nano wraps around blasting joints, starburst combo double explosion. The firelight reflected the blue frost and ice, the fragments of meteorites rained down and cratered continuously, and the roar of the engine stopped abruptly. The two remaining guards attacked in a panic, and the extremely cold field overlapped the fog to lock the vision, but Yi Chen scanned the star map to predict and unlock. The dual core pulse pulsated and roared steadily, and the thrusters jumped through the fog like a ghost. Full holes are open. The sickle blade whipped and pulled, the nano ripples hardened the blocking claws, the starburst main cannon roared through the last pair, the explosion chain was like a chain of starbursts, the ice blue debris melted into iron slurry, the heat wave and cold fog collided with the steam like a nuclear explosion mushroom cloud. The whole place was silent for 3 seconds before a landslide broke out and roared, for annihilations. Yi Chen slaughtered Gu Han's team and destroyed the team god alone. The betting machine collapsed, the coin mountain collapsed, and the black market boss laughed and cried, 1:500, Yi Go Star King. The audience gasped, and taunts surged from the stands, black market garbage, Gu Han's team is 92% synchronized, and when the extreme cold field is opened, it freezes and evaporates. Han Zhao's tactical channel rushed, Yi Chen, the chip heat map shows a flaw in the formation, the central blind spot of the diamond formation, teleportation, interspersion and breakup. The secret tarmac, the lift platform in the back alley of Lin Fan Clinic rumbled and swallowed the machine. Han Zhao's tall and thin figure jumped up, the old military uniform was stained with oil, the terminal green light pulsed. Old Yi, the federal blockade was delayed for 12 hours, a hacker implanted the virus. But the new interpretation of the chip, the archives of the ancient empire, the ancient Mecha once fought against the invasion of alien insect waves. The scanning system was originally a swarm heat map slaying artifact, the black hole plan is a counterattack weapon, Gu Han's Mecha hidden activation key. Su Wan sweated from her ponytail, her cheeks were red and her nose was mixed with engine oil, and she hugged Yi Chen's arms and said, "You won the team." But Gu Han fought in person, with extreme cold field plus high-speed slashing. I will simulate it. She inserted the probe with flying fingers, and the nano-liquid covered the new wound, and the welding sparks flew. Dual-core pulse replacement, the thruster hyperspace jump is officially online, and the cold resistance layer is adaptive plus 40%. Yi Chen jumped out of the cabin, cracking his joints with his fists, his sweat-soaked uniform pulsating, his eyes starry. Warner, thank you for the money for mother's medicine. Brother Shao, thank you for the war at the border, please make the federal network darker. Han Shao slapped his shoulders and laughed, his black hair fluttering and his eyes flowing with data. One brother. Upgraded all night, I cracked Gu Han phone grid simulation, the frost blade slashes 12 times per second, and the ice seal slows down by 50%, but the vortex's weak point collapses when it is overloaded. Lin Fan smoked and trembled, holding his head and laughing wildly. Boy, 3 consecutive wins to kill the team, the preliminaries are straight to the finals. But the Federation's face is green, Gu Han suspects the enemy, and the military crisis is about to break out in the middle of the competition. The clinic was brightly lit all night, the dismantling engine roared like thunder, nano-liquids poured out like a galaxy, and the smell of ozone and burnt welding filled my nose. Yi Chen sat cross-legged in the cockpit and simulated it. The limit of consciousness synchronization was raised to 102%. The ice computer was like thousands of needles. The field of vision simulated Gu Hanjan, the frost overlord slashed at the frost blade rain at high speed, the sky was covered with white mist in the extreme cold field, and the heat icon's weak point vortex pulsed. But Su Wan leaned next to Yi Chen, put her hand on Yi Chen's forehead and whispered, "Don't be brave. I'm afraid of losing you." The emotional heat melted ice and electricity, and the synchronization was as stable as a rock. Han Shao spit out the blueprint at the terminal, alien invasion files, insect mother black hole swallowing stars, ancient mecha star explosion and massacre, foreshadowing, if Gu Han opens a black hole, the competition venue may become a swallowing field. Gu Han's overlord's frost layer loomed with cracks, and the engine cried low, "Yi Chen. I'll take the black hole engine myself." However, the federal drone failed due to delays, the laser network tightened, and the cruiser's mechanical arm caught wind pressure and dust. Yi Chen's energy core trembled slightly, overload 1.8%, fuel reduced 78%, but Su-1 shouted urgently, "Evacuate. The clinic upgrade will wait for you all night." The teleporting blue vortex opened again, and the Star Hunter tore up the space and rushed out of the dome crack. The tail flame streaked the night sky like a meteor, and the rear explosion pursued the fire tail. The audience worshipped and screamed, "Escape against the gods." Pre-selected champion Black Market Yi. Baron carried the energy crystal pile with a crutch, and the strong repairman knelt around him, "Brother Yi, amazing skills. The black market is all in for the final." At dawn the next day, Yi Chen punched the air, "Final, Gu Han, scan your black hole and your dream will be shattered." But Lin Fan's channel was low, "Boy, the federal fleet is moving, the outer perimeter of the galaxy port is blocked." Gu Han's figure flashes the shadow of the cruiser. At dawn the next day, in the back alley of Lin Fan's black market clinic, mist wrapped around the lift platform like silver threads. The residual heat of the engine evaporated, emitting a faint aroma of burnt engine oil, and the pungent ozone mixed with the embers of the welding gun. Yi Chen jumped out of the cockpit, the sweat on his suit dried into salt frost and clung to his skin. His fists cracked and his joints were as brittle as metal. As his chest rose and fell, the blue light reflected by the pulsation of the Star Hunter's nanolayer shone in the depths of his pupils. The synchronization rate is stably locked at 102%. After the dual-core pulse upgrade, it roars like a heartbeat. The green light of the thruster hyperspace jump module is all on. The cold-resistant layer adaptive test is no damage at -200 degrees. The fuel is replenished to 92%. The energy core overload is reduced to 0.9%, all-night-long optimization has transformed this ancient beast into a star-eating killer. The strong men of the black market knelt down to surround the cabin. Baron was crying with crutches. He held a pile of energy crystals in his rough hands like a treasure. "Yi Chen. Kill 4 people in the pre-selection and go straight to the finals. The black market is all in at 1:500. Last night, the mountain of coins collapsed, and the federal general's face turned green to pig liver. This pile of crystals is enough for you to starburst for 3 days." The repairmen's throats rolled, and their oily faces twisted in admiration, muttering, "Teleport across the formation. One person can destroy the team, and the magical skill will last forever." World. Han Zhao's tall and thin figure leaned against the wall, and the data on the cuffs of his old military uniform flowed like fireflies. He patted Yi Chen on the shoulder and laughed, his black hair dancing wildly. "Brother, the virus has stabilized the blockade, and the federal cruiser is still fooling around. But the new chip is vomiting blood." The ancient empire scan heat map, Zheng Tu's mother black hole, Gu Han's black hole engine, matching 89%, turning on the backlash driving. "I predict the weak vortex explosion rate is 97%. Su-1's ponytail was slightly messy, and the sweat on her cheeks was rosy. She stroked Yi Chen's arms with her fingers, and her body fragrance mixed with nano-liquid silver hit her nose. She whispered tremblingly, "Chen. The team is completely destroyed, and you are like a dancing god. I'm afraid." Gu Han fought in person in the finals. Black holes were superimposed on the extreme cold field, simulating my screen crashing 3 times. But the cold resistance layer is plus 40%, self-repaired nanometers have repaired last night's ice cracks, I have paid for my mother's medicine, and the family debt is 51. After winning the black market, the heat flowed into Yi Chen's meridians, and the ice computer melted in an instant, rising slightly by 0.2%. Everyone looked at him. Lin Fan shook his beard and smoked, laughing wildly, "Boy, good for nothing. The preliminaries are going straight, the black market is fighting against the Federation, the finals are broadcast live across the interstellar, the betting frenzy, but the cruiser is moving, the military exercise is closed. Gu Han's shadow is shining, and there is a strong sense of evil. Chen punched his palms, thunder echoed in the alleyway, and his eyes exploded like blue flames burning into the sky. Warner, Brother Shao, Master Lin, Black Market Brothers, remember the heart. Debts, bounties, wanted, the whole game is bloodbathed. Gu Han, the black hole dream is broken, scan you into ashes. He jumped back into the cabin, his consciousness was full at the same time, and the heat map of his vision started to simulate. The Frost Overlord Frost Blade Rain struck, the Vortex Weak Point Red Pulse pulsed, the Teleportation Arc Prediction flashed, the winning rate was 99%. The engine roared to life, the nanolegs hardened and rumbled on the ground, the platform roared up and down and spit into the fog, the blue flame trail cut through the dawn, heading straight to the dome of the Galaxy Port competition. Outside the dome, the shadow of the Federal cruiser hovered like a giant beast, the buzz of drones intensified, spectators rushed into the venue, the green light of the betting machine flashed wildly, and the black market brawny men roared and placed bets. Chen crushes the champion. The countdown timer of the finals on the holographic screen, 2 hours, warm-up match starts. Chen Hunter slid into the tarmac in a low profile, and the hatch opened. The black market bosses knelt down and cheered, God is coming. The Federal closure is a sign, we will block it with our welding guns. But the air suddenly condensed, the smell of ozone turned to fishy rust, the red light from the muzzle of the cruiser in the distance was accumulating, and the radio roared piercingly, everyone is on alert. The rebels have infiltrated, and the military exercise has started, the closure is closed. Mutations like thunder. The dome wall exploded with a shower of sparks, and 10 rebel heavy-armored mechas rumbled in. The dark shell pulsated with red veins, and the engines screamed at high frequencies. Each machine was a 30-meter steel mountain. The laser cannon barrels buzzed and locked, and the missile nests spewed fire tails like a swarm of bees. The rebel projection zoomed in with a ferocious smile, and the leader's voice was as hoarse as iron, Federal Rebellion. Hijack the competition and seize the ancient chip. Chen, your star hunter, offer it first. The drone turned around in rebellion, and the laser net reversed to cover the field. The audience screamed and scattered. The Federal general in the VIP area dropped his cigar with a corpse-white face, rebels. The ghost in the cruiser. The black market brawny men welded guns and sprayed firewalls to block the rays, shouting and pounced on, Leaf Protector God. On the eve of the finals, the shadow of the Federal cruiser hovered outside the dome, and the buzz of the drone doubled. Gu Hanin smiled and projected, Chen, see you in the finals. But the Federation has ordered that in the middle of the competition, the military exercises will be closed, your star hunter will always be in my hand. The crisis is surging, the blue flames are gathering momentum, and the star map black hole file is spinning in his mind like a doomsday prophecy. Chen punched the bulkhead, beads of sweat rolled down his teeth and gritted his teeth, the rebels are going to die. Scan the whole place. The limit of consciousness synchronization was running through the brain like thousands of needles, the Star Hunter engine roared and shook the ground, the nanolayer pulsed like blood, and the heat map exploded, the blue line of the Red Dot 10 aircraft was on its own path, the formation barrels were locked, and the winning rate was predicted to drop to 31%, rain of missiles, fire tails, melting cabin marks, and the heat wave roasted the face and scorched the nostrils. The first wave of laser nets was woven, blue light swiped the armor, and the cabin screen alarm flashed wildly, armor damage was 5%, simultaneously reduced to 98%. The audience was escaping and mockingly echoed, the black market is ruined, 10 machines are surrounding and killing. The myth of teleportation is shattered. The strong man in the black market fell to the ground with his blood-stained welding gun, and shouted in despair, Brother Yi, there are too many ghosts in the Federation. Lower the limit. Chen groaned, the dual-core pulse preheating blue flames gathered momentum, and the thruster hyperspace jump was unlocked, but the energy alarm was glaring, overload increased by 1.2%, the rebel aircraft's nuclear warhead was loaded. The rebel plane rumbled and approached, the mid-level main force's claw arms stretched out and danced wildly, the laser blade buzzed and cut into the sky, and the leader's projection smiled ferociously. Ancient scan. I'm an iron wall array, ballistic web with no dead ends. The temperature in the cabin soared, sweat poured down like rain, blind spots on the heat map emerged, the winning rate dropped to 12%, Lin Fan's channel trembled. Boy, hold on, the black market is completely destroyed. Su Wan cried, Chen, I will save everything and win. If you want to be strong, you must first suppress it and explode. Yi Chen's thoughts exploded, scan the heat map annotations of the entire venue, and the ballistic prediction network unfolds. The star map in the field of vision is like a divine net, the red and blue lines are intertwined in the predicted arc flashes, the trajectory of each bullet is like the palm of the hand, the hyperspace jump roars and splits the sky, the space blue vortex swallows the machine, the star hunter ghost teleports through the heart of the bullet rain. The nano-arm blade deformed and stretched, and the blue sickle blade hissed out of the fog. The first rebel machine glared and distorted the projection, teleport through the network. 94% synchronization. The whip body wrapped around the neck hummed with huge force, pulling and hitting the second machine, and the core was exposed to store starburst rays. Boom. Blue and white light beams penetrated the double explosion, the fireball shot into the sky and the smell of burnt metal filled the air, and the wreckage smashed into pits and shook the whole place. Sweep 10 games by one person. The pupils of the rebel leader's projection shrank suddenly, and his voice trembled for the first time. Impossible, the iron wall formation is 93% synchronized. The remnants of the black market turned to madness, kneeling and shouting, Yishan ballistic god. The heat map weaves the web to massacre the formation. The audience gasped in the distance, the Federation, the general's face turned green, the rebels, are all annihilation omens. Yi Chen's integration of man and machine was as smooth as a ghost dance, the heat map predicted the chain unlocking, the teleportation arc flashed, the second wave cut into the blind spot, the arm blade spin/pulled the third and fourth machines into collision, the nano ripples hardened the blocking claws, and the starburst combo exploded 4 times. Explosions of fire reflected black shell fragments, fragments of meteorites rained down on the dome and cracks spread, the roar of the engine stopped abruptly, and ozone and bloody steam billowed like a nuclear explosion. The remaining 6 planes attacked in a panic, with the nuclear warhead loaded with red light, and the laser fields overlapped to lock the field of view, but Yi Chen scanned the star map at full speed, the dual-core pulse roared steadily, and the thrusters jumped through the fog, all flaws are swept. The self-study nanometers crawled over the new melt marks, the arm blades danced wildly and tore apart the 5th, the starburst main cannon roared through the 6th, and the explosive iron slurry splashed and burned the armor. The nuclear warhead is approaching and locked, the cabin screen flashes wildly, nuclear explosion countdown 10 seconds, armor limit. The rebel machine smiled ferociously, self-destruction and burial. But the nano-self-repair layer pulsated and exploded thickly, hardening to block the direct attack of the red light. Boom. The shock wave ripped through the air, the bulkhead screamed like a rain of sparks, and the overload increased by 2.1%, but the core was firmly locked, and the remaining waves shook the 2 planes. The tarmac was chaotic, and Su Wan, Han Xiao, and Lin Fan were grabbed by the robot arm of the rebel machine. The holographic channel rushed, Yi Chen. They are rushing to the back door of the clinic, we can't stop them. Su Wan threw tears at the screen, Chen, save, the nano self-repairing nuclear warhead, but 10 machines are under siege, don't surrender. Han Zhao's terminal flashed green light, the heat map shows that the rebel leader is weak in the chest, but Gu Han, projected the cruiser. Lin Fan roared with his hair flying, boy, the black market will give you away. The whole place was silent for 2 seconds, and a landslide roared, nuclear block the gods. Yi Chen slaughters 8 people, and 2 of them are broken. The betting machine crashed and the coin flooded, and the black market boss laughed and cried, 1:1000, God King. The rebel leader retreated with 2 machines and slashed in the air with his claw blade, but Gu Hanhanshuang Overlord suddenly appeared in the shadow of the cruiser, the frost condensed the fog, and the engine ghost cried and sniped, "Yi Chen, the chip belongs to me." The timer counts down and flashes, warm-up crisis, closing in 30 seconds. Gu Han approached with a ferocious smile, and the frost blade rain hit the ground like a white tornado, and the ground instantly froze and cracked the spear forest. Yi Chen smiled bitterly and counter-scanned the heat map, vortex overload prediction, starburst lock. Teleport the blue vortex and open it again, cut through the fog and cut into the weak core, the arm blade wraps around with huge force, and the starburst ray penetrates the vortex, boom. The cracks in the black hole engine exploded, frost and snow burst out, and Gu Han's projection twisted and screamed, "Black hole, backlash." The frost overlord staggered back from the cruiser shadow, and its tail flame streaked across the sky in a panic. Orgasmic release. Yi Chen's propeller sprayed wildly, tearing the fog to free the mechanical arm cage. Su Wan, Han Xiao, and Lin Fan jumped into the auxiliary cabin, and repaired the damage caused by the nanoliquid. The rebel leader projected his escape through the rift of the cruiser. Next time, swallow the star. The Star Hunter burned the sky with blue flames and rushed out of the dome. The rear exploded and chased the fire tail. The whole audience worshipped and screamed, "Hero rebels against the gods." Rebellious robbery 2 Sure plus Gu retreat, the black market Yi King. The black market brawny man knelt down with blood and tears. Yi Shen saves the field, the Federation's face is swollen. The blue flames of Star Hunter tore through the night sky like a wound, the nanometer layer pulsated and whispered, and the air in the cabin stagnated into a rusty smell, mixed with the lingering orchid fragrance of Su Wan's sweaty hair. The shadow of the cruiser monster chased after it, the muzzle's red light pulse locked like a blood pupil, the laser preheating buzzed and reverberated harshly, the distance was shortened to 5,000 meters, the alarm screen flashed wildly, the tracking missile nest is loaded, the heat map predicts the interception rate is 87%, and the fuel is reduced to 78%. Yi Chen punched the control panel, his joints crackled like broken steel, the red lines in the heat map of his field of vision weaved a web, he jumped into a blue vortex in hyperspace and swallowed the cabin, the ghost slid sideways through the clouds and fog, the engine overload roared by 3.2%, the bulkhead screamed and rained down Mars, and his face was burned by the heat wave. In the auxiliary cabin, Su Wan's ponytail stuck to her cheeks, her hands pinched the armrests, her knuckles turned white and trembled, her tears dried into salt lines, she whispered and choked, "Chen." The ghost projection in the cruiser flashed Gu Han's face, the rebel leader hit his wings, the countdown to the final was 1 hour and 50 minutes, the black market is completely destroyed. Han Zhao's tall and thin body was crouched in front of the terminal. The data flow from the cuffs of his old military uniform was like fireflies after power outage. Sweat beads rolled down his forehead and clicked on the keyboard. His throat rolled and he gritted his teeth, the virus is being tracked, and the federal database is ironclad. The hacked file shows that Gu Han's sponsor and the high-level marshal personally approved that the black hole plan is not an exercise, but a resurrection of ancient insects. Boy, the chip heat map vomits blood. The dark star worm once swallowed half of the empire, and the scan is from the insect brain's counter-control. Lin Fan's hair turned green and stuck to the bulkhead, without feeling the embers of the cigarette but scorching his fingers, he shouted harshly to suppress the noise, "Boy, turn to the back alley of the black market." The lab's hidden frequency is turned on, and the wall of welding guns blocked the cruiser for a while, but the wanted bounty has soared to 1.2 million. The creditor's projection has bombed the Su family, and the mother has been drug-free for 48 hours. The audience's holographic channel was ridiculing. The federal general in the VIP area twisted his face into pig liver after his cigar fell to the ground. The projection loudly shouted, "Yi Chen rebels against the gods." The warm-up massacre is the inside story of the black market. The finals are blocked, and the bets are frozen. The 1:500 collapse. The black market is intermittent, and the brawny man's blood-stained welding gun sounds hoarse and desperate. "King Yi, the cruiser cannon rain, we have blocked 3 waves and broken, Baron has broken his leg and kneels down to wait for the god to return. Chen groaned, and the synchronization rate dropped to 94%, the brain is bitten by insects, the blind area of the heat map is expanding, the missile fire tail is scratching and melting marks are added, the ozone is burning in the nose, the cabin temperature is soaring and sweating like rain. Hold on. Break the chip in the laboratory first, scan all Guhan's points. The thrusters sprayed wildly to tear up the fog, the blue vortex jumped and flicked its tail, the cruiser's bombardment exploded the cloud of fireballs, the shock wave shook the cabin like an earthquake, and the energy core's red alert was dazzling, overload 4.1%, self-study nanometer crawl speed reduced by 30%. Silver threads of mist wrap around the lifting platform in the back alley of the black market. The embers of the welding gun and the ozone are as pungent as needles pricking the lungs. The Star Hunter lands with a low roar. The hatch opens and the heat wave sprays out. The remaining strong man kneels in a pool of blood. Baron leans on a broken crutch and is mixed with tears. Mud roared, Chen. The cruiser is locked in the laboratory with different frequencies, and the federal alleys are blocked and the drones are buzzing for 3 miles. Chen jumped out, with sweat and blood stains on his suit, his fists clenched and thunderous, and the ground rumbled, and his nanoboots hardened into pits and splashed with mud. Su-1 hugged her arms and her pulse pulsed with heat, and she trembled. Chen, the creditor's hologram is urging 500,000 plus interest, and the mother is weak, the laboratory first. The team rushed into Lin Fan's underground laboratory. The steel door slammed shut to isolate the outside buzz, the blue pulsation of the light tube filled the screen with data, the air was moist and cold, and the machine oil was moldy and rotten. The green light of the chip slot flashed randomly like a heart twitch. Lin Fan's hands fluttered around the keyboard, cigarette ashes scattered and he shouted, "All chips." The ancient empire mecha versus the dark star worm. The black hole of the mother worm gave birth to a swarm of thousands of worms. The scanning system is for Zerg anti-control technology. The heat map is not predicted by God, but stolen from the worm brain neural network. The Empire massacres the insects, and the mecha self-destructs. Destroy the star, hide the remnant crystal. Boy, your Star Hunter, the insect source awakens, Guhan's black hole match, the plan to resurrect the insect mother. Han Zhao's terminal exploded with green light, and the avalanche of hackers poured down. His pupils shrank and he trembled, the evidence is irrefutable. The Federal Marshal is sponsoring Guhan, insect egg sample transport cruiser, black hole engine incubator, resurrecting the Zerg to control the interstellar, final slaughterhouse, all pilots turned into insect slaves. Su-1 shook her ponytail, scoffed at the fingertip welding gun, dismantled the nanolayer of the arm blade, her eyes were red and swollen, and she cried, the anti-insect pulse cannon is being upgraded. But the insect brain anti-control simulation, the synchronization rate may be locked to 99%, Chen, your brain, is it a sign of worm invasion? She touched Chen's pulse with her fingers, her body temperature was as hot as charcoal, the upgraded liquid silver crawled on her arms and buzzed, pain rushed through her brain like an electric whip, Chen gritted his teeth and groaned, and the hot image flashed with a red pulse pulsing. Outside the laboratory, the buzzing of the drones intensified like a swarm of bees biting bones, and the cruiser projected a hoarse broadcast, the ghost in the laboratory is locked, surrender to Chen, the bounty will be doubled. The creditor's holographic smile appeared, and his fat face was distorted. Su-1, 500,000 snowballed to 720,000, the mother was drugged, and the body was selling motor oil on the black market. The black market brawny man channel was intermittently desperate, King Yi, federal tanks rumbled down the alley, and the welding guns melted away. The audience broadcast live mocking the trend, the source of useless insects. The warm-up was a fluke, Guhan slaughtered him in the semi-finals, and the myth was shattered into ashes. Chen punched the table steel and cracked it, beads of sweat smashed against the gears, his heart was like an anvil and pressed with despair, synchronized with a slight drop of 92%, the insect shadow in his mind whispered, Guhan, Marshal, insect mother. Lin Fan laughed wildly and turned bitter, boy, warm up first in the semi-finals. The system simulates an underworld war. Han's black hole worm hatches, the first win is locked by 28%. The timer spins in my mind, 1 hour and 20 minutes, the semi-finals begin, the Galaxy Harbor Dome is resealed. The Star Hunter engine roared to life, the pulse cannon arm blade gained new pulse blue light, and the anti-insect layer filled with thick buzzing sounds. Chen jumped into the cabin, the integration of man and machine was as smooth as blood. The heat map weaved a web to predict the opponent in the semi-finals, the Federation Lieutenant General Mecha Iron Wall Beast. His clumsy claw arms roared in the air, and the audience roared, the Iron Wall crushes the insect god. The dome re-entered, the bloody fog did not dissipate, the Iron Wall Beast rumbled, the laser net weaved a blue light, and the missile nest fire tail swarm melted into the sky. Chen groaned, the shadows of struggling bugs ate his brain simultaneously, the blind spots of the heat map flashed, the claws and arms wiped away sparks, the cabin screen damage increased sharply by 8%, the fuel slipped by 76%, and the taunt echoed, black market trader bugs, Iron Wall synchronization 95%, crushing corpses. Su Wanfu trembled frequently, Chen, the anti-insect cannon is preheated, the insect brain is suppressed. Han Zhao's data was running around, simulating an underworld war. Gu Han ambushed the back door. Lin Fan shouted, ballistic weaving. Wanting to increase the pressure, Yi Chen's heart exploded, scan is fully open, anti-insect heat map lock is weak. The blue vortex teleported through the heart of the network, the pulse cannon roared through the core of the iron wall, the blue and white ripples spread and tore the shell, the explosive iron slurry sprayed into the sky, and the Iron Wall Beast's projection distorted and screamed, insects, counter-control. Synchronous collapse. The wreckage smashed into the pit and shook the sky, the audience was silent for a moment, and the black market remnants turned to stone and knelt down and roared. King Yi easily captured the iron wall. But Gu Hanying's cruiser flashed. The federal general's face dropped with a green cigar again. It was a fluke in the semi-finals, the insect tide was wiped out in the finals. But the depression has not been released, and the system simulates an underworld war and explodes the screen. Gu Hanhanshuang Overlord is repaired, black hole worm eggs pulsate and hatch, worm silk mesh weaves the star map, the winning rate drops by 19%, and the cruiser gun red is fully charged. Yi Chen's cabin was filled with sweat, brain bugs were buzzing, and the fuel alarm was blaring. When the team returned to the laboratory, the wall of welding guns was melted and broken, and the corpses of strong black market men were lying in the alley. Baron's broken leg was kneeling in a pool of blood to greet him. Yi Shen, the cruiser tanks are pressing in. Mutant thunder. Frost mist sprayed out from the cracks in the dome, Gu Han's frost overlord ghost descended, frost blades rained down on the frozen steel door, a forest of ice cracks and spears pierced the wall, and the engine screamed at a high frequency. Yi Chen, the source of chip insects belongs to me. Order of the Marshal, kill the team. The laser frost field overlapped and locked the room, the temperature plummeted to -150 degrees, Su Wan screamed and her arms froze, and Han Zhao's terminal was frozen to death. Lin Fan fluttered with his beard flying, the welding gun sprayed fire and blocked the blade. The frost blade in his chest penetrated and blood mist exploded. He stumbled to the ground and coughed up rust. He grabbed the final blueprint with his rough hands and threw Yi Chen away. Boy, finally upgraded, insect mother nemesis nanonuclear explosion. In the entire black hole plan, win alive, destroy the Marshal. Projected by Gu Han, the ferocious smile enlarged, and the eyes were as cold as the abyss. The old ghost is dead. See you in the finals, insect slave. The frost blade slashed again, the ice in the laboratory collapsed, Yi Chen's consciousness was synchronously stretched, the red-veined insect shadow in the heat map was pulsating, the blue flame thruster was gaining momentum, the black cloud of crisis was overwhelming, the timer was spinning at T50, and the despair in his mind was about to explode. The ice in the laboratory collapsed like a star core shattering. White tornadoes of frost and fog roared, a cold wave of -150 degrees gnawed at the bone marrow, steel beams twisted and broke, and light tubes exploded and rained down with blue sparks. Lin Fan's chest was pierced by a frost blade, blood mist sprayed thinly and the smell of rust hit his nose. His beard and hair were covered with frost. He pinched the blueprint with his rough hands and threw it at Chen. His throat rolled and he coughed out crushed ice from his lungs. Boy. Insect Mother Nemesis, nanonuclear explosion fusion insect, the core of the clan. The holographic field scan is fully opened, and the Marshall seal is in the black hole. Win alive, Star Destroyer bug. After saying this, his pupils expanded into deathly ashes, and the flames of the welding gun were extinguished. His body was dented by the steel, and the pool of blood spread and froze into red crystals. Yi Chen's brain was bitten by thousands of insects, and the synchronization rate dropped by 91%. The red-veined insect shadow in the heat map whispered, "Submit, the insect mother will live forever." He punched the ice wall and cracked the spider web, and the nanoboots were stuck in the bloody mud. He roared and crushed the frost. "Old man! Catch the blueprint!" Su Wan froze and screamed, throwing away the ice silk from her ponytail. Level, Insect Core Fusion Field, I pretend. Han Shao crouched in front of the terminal, the old military uniform was frosted and cracked, and the data avalanche crashed. He gritted his teeth and held up his body, improved evidence of uploading the black market remnant of the worm. Gu Han's ace troops are pressing down on the alley. Boy, the cruiser and tank are rumbling 3 miles away. Baron knelt down in a pool of blood with a broken leg and shouted in the earthquake pit, "Yi Shen. There are corpses in the black market, and the welding gun is melting. The old man's soul is protecting you." Gu Han's projected evil smile enlarged like a ghost looking down. The Frost Overlord engine screamed at high frequency and ripped through the air. The forest of frost blades and white light spears pierced the remaining wall, and the thick ice layer hummed on the top. "Yi Chen, I will get the insect source chip." Team all slaughtered, the insect slaves presented themselves to the marshal in the finals. The laser frost field overlapped and locked the room, the temperature dropped again. Su Wan screamed and folded her arms, her knuckle welding gun jingled, she pounced on the blueprint and dismantled it, and the liquid silver nanometers crawled onto Yi Chen's suit. Buzzing, the pain was like an electric whip whipping his brain. Yi Chen groaned and knelt down, the blind area of the heat map of his vision expanded into a black hole, the brain insect shadow pulsated with red pulse and laughed wildly. Integration, surrender. The psychological game was like an anvil hitting his heart. He gritted his teeth and recalled the old image of Lin Fan's rough smile. The strong man in the black market knelt down and roared with blood, and the mother's weak message flashed into his mind. "No." The old man's blood changed to the field. "I am the inverse insect mother." Su Wan loaded into the core of the Star Hunter. The black market residual frequency continued to surge with despair, and the audience holographically mocked the frying pan, good-for-nothing insect slave. Lin Fan's corpse was frozen, Gu Hanzhuang was slaughtered, and the semi-finals were lucky to be broken. The Federal General's third cigar fell to the ground in the VIP area, and his face twisted like a pig's liver and roared, wanted to increase by 1.5 million. The cruiser tank is a god. The cruiser's gun was full of red and buzzing, the tank rumbled and smashed into the mud in the alley, spraying blood mist, and the drone buzzed and swallowed the air. But Su Wan flicked the ice beads from her ponytail, her eyes were red and swollen, and the welding gun scoffed. Her fingers flew with blueprints and injected them into the Zerg core residual crystal. The green light exploded and pulsed like a heart, fusion in progress. The nanonuclear explosion field is unfolding, and the anti-worm heat map is upgraded to holographic perception. Chen, suppress the brain worm, and pull it back simultaneously. The pain surged through his veins like lava burning through his veins. Yi Chen roared and blood burst from his throat. His fists thundered and smashed into the ice pit, the nano-silver covered his arms with a thick buzz, the Star Hunter's outer cabin engine roared to life, and the blue flame trail pulsed and gathered momentum. The dark clouds of crisis were overwhelming. Gu Hanzhuang slashed the steel door again and shattered the ice rain. The ghost of the Frost Overlord pressed forward. The frost field spread below zero and froze Baron's broken leg in a pool of blood. His tears mixed with the ice and shouted, Chen, sponsored the last piece of the crystal. The crystal was thrown into the hatch and sneered away the heat wave. The fusion accelerated and the green and red intertwined and exploded the screen. Chen jumped out of the cabin, the integration of man and machine deepened like flesh and blood merging into the soul. 98% of the simultaneous surge, the whisper of the brain bug shadow suddenly weakened, the blue net of the holographic field weaved and expanded for hundreds of meters. The heat map was not predicted, it was the ancient empire's magic skill for killing insects. The insect brain nerves stole the red veins of hostility from the entire audience. The mental core exploded, old man, I will take the blueprint. Marshal Gu Han, destroy the corpse of the insect mother. But the oppression was not released, the blind spot flashed at the beginning of the field, Gu Han's ace troops suddenly appeared in the cracks in the dome, the rebel Zerg hybrid mechas swarmed down, the shell armor squirmed with red pulses, the insect limbs and claw arms waved and stinky slime sprayed, the engine hybrid roared like thousands of insects devouring gold, insect slave sacrifice. Marshal's order, purify the traitor. More than a dozen heads of hybrid mechas smashed heavily into the ground and rumbled, insect shell nanometers self-healed and crawled at a crazy speed, laser insect silk mesh was woven with blue and red staggered at the edge of the lock field, claw arms were swung in the air and roared to tear away the fog, ozone was burning and insects were filling the sky. Star Hunter's fuel consumption dropped by 74%, its armor damage soared by 18%, its claw arms scratched its armor with new melt marks from Mars, and its nano self-repair buzzed and struggled. Su Wanfu trembled and screamed, Chen, hybrid weak core insect heart. Domain scanning lock. But Gu Han's black hole insect eggs are pulsing, a sign of hatching. Han Zhao's terminal restarted and green lights were running around, his tall and thin body supported the ice wall and roared, the ace unit is confirmed. 20 Marshal insect slaves, cruiser backup tanks are pressing in. Baron crawled out of the cabin with a broken leg in the bloody mud, his eyes wide and trembling, Chen, the black market is completely destroyed, we will protect you in the finals. The audience's live broadcast turned silent and exploded, insect hybrids are massacred. What is Chen's field? The heat map is full of red veins. The federal general's face turned green and distorted, Gu Han's trump card is to crush the source of insects. Wanting to use his ace to crush the source of insects, Chen's heart exploded and his ingenuity flashed, he didn't fight head-on, he was weakened by teleportation. The blue net of the holographic field expanded and buzzed thickly, sensing the hostility in the entire field. The red veins were like spider silk woven into the heart. The core weakness of the hybrid mecha was flashing with green dots. The psychological game was rekindled, the shadow of the brain insect was booming and lured down. He sneered and crushed it with iron will, insect mother. I'm a nuclear explosion nemesis. The engine passed. The load roar increased by 5.2%, the blue vortex hyperspace jumping ghost slid sideways through the insect mesh, the new pulse blue light of the arm blade was fully charged, the anti-insect layer was thick and filled with buzzing, the man and machine were as smooth as dragon blood, and the ordinary driver clumsily swung his claws in the air and rumbled to the ground. In comparison, the Star Hunter was like a divine shadow flying in the sky. The first hybrid mecha squirmed, its insect limbs and claws heavily smashed into the pit and splashed with a fishy stench. Chen locked the field core and teleported through the heart. The pulse cannon roared and spread through the blue and white ripples. The red mist of the purifying insect core exploded and burned the sky. The shell shattered and iron slurry sprayed. The cockpit projection distorted and screamed, insect, counter-control collapse. What kind of magic is the field? The debris hit the earthquake dome, the black market remnant petrified turned to kneel and roared, sweep the insect cores from Yi Wang's field. Instant purification, God. Su Wanfu's pupils shrank suddenly and trembled, Chen, synchronization is 99%, the brain insect shadow has retreated. The field senses Gu Han's escape. Han Zhao's data exploded, his throat rolled and his eyes widened, the minion has 3 heads, and the winning rate is 28%, but the ace can chi, the tank rumbles. Chen kept groaning, the second wave of mixed blood swarmed, the insect silk laser network weaved new traces of molten armor, the energy core red alarm was glaring overload of 5.8%, and the fuel was 72%. The insect shadow in his mind whispered again, submit, the black hole is eternal. The psychological game was like a fire. He recalled Lin Fan's blood trust, Su Wan's frozen embrace, and the black market corp's loyalist, and roared, nuclear explosion is ready. Su Wan, mother I win. The blue vortex jumped through the heart of the net, the arm blade chopped off the insect limbs, and the sparks rained down. The blue wave purified the red mist, and the hybrid shell shattered and the iron slurry rained down. The driver screamed and the screen shattered, Marshall. Soul locking. The mountains of debris shook, and the bedbugs burned his nose like needles pricking his lungs. Baron's blood-stained eyes were wet and he knelt down, Chen, the old man's soul is laughing. Gu Hanshuang Overlord Frost Blade Rain's white dragon pressed down, and the black hole insect eggs pulsated and hatched with a flash of red light. He projected a ferocious smile on Tong Han, Chen, the field is lucky. The ace is still protecting me from the finals, the insect mother presents the marshal, and the T-40 is the slave. The engine screamed at high frequency and ripped into the sky, the frost field shrank and escaped from the cracks in the dome, and the cruiser's gun-red battery was buzzing as it retreated. Chen pursued the field and sensed the red veins escape, but the tank rumbled into the alley and the muzzle heat map was locked. Su Wan screamed, Chen, the dome of the finals has been resealed. Gu Han's public challenge channel is open. Han Zhao's terminal flashed green light, the ironclad evidence is uploaded to the entire interstellar. The Marshal's insect mother file explodes, the bed is unfrozen at 1:200. The audience's hologram wave of admiration, the field of Chen is cleansed of insects. Gu Han escapes the dog and slaughters his mother in the finals. The federal general's cigar was smashed to the ground, his face turned white and trembling, the black hole plan leaked. The marshal can't suppress it. The black market residual frequency kneeled and roared echoed, King Yi is against the gods. But the cruiser and tanks are surrounding, T-35 points the countdown to the finals, Gu Han's challenge is announced, insect slave Chen, frost blade finals torn into pieces. But the crisis is not over yet, tanks are raining red light and weaving a net, the dome is resealed and the fog and blood are still lingering, the timer is spinning T-30 points in the mind, Gu Han's shadow is dormant, the mother insect is hatching and the conspiracy is on the verge of breaking out, the Star Hunter's blue flame is gathering momentum, and the hero is roaring to dominate in the finals. The red light of the tanks and cannons danced wildly like blood snakes, weaving a web of death that melted through the mist and blood dome. The stench of burnt steel slurry and rust stung the nose and lungs. The rumbling tracks crushed the blood mud pits and the rumbling was deafening. The Star Hunter's blue flame trail pulses and gathers momentum, the fuel needle trembles wildly at 72%, the energy core's red alarm dazzling overload surges by 6.2%, and the nano self-study hums and struggles like a dying worm. Chen's cabin was filled with sweat and blood, the tank's gun muzzle was locked on the site heat map and the red pulse was pulsing, the holographic field's blue network sensed the cruiser's backup buzzing for 3 miles in the alley, and the timer in his mind was spinning like T-28 minutes, counting down like a demon in his heart. Su Wanfu's voice was sharp and harsh. She held the blueprint in her cold purple arms and trembled. Her eyes were red and swollen with tears falling from the ice, Chen. The tanks are locked at the edge of the area, the cruiser guns are fully charged. The black market is sealed, we can't break out. Han Zhao's tall and thin body supported the ice wall. Cracks, the blood frost of the old military uniform shattered, green light flashed at the end of his fingertips and rolled in his throat, iron proof of interstellar explosion. The Marshal's insect mother file is uploaded in full frequency, the federal general is divided and roaring. But the wanted number soars to 2 million, and the tank AI insect control is locked. Baron knelt down in a pool of blood with his broken leg and screamed. His crutches hit the earthquake pit and splashed mud. His mixed blood eyes were wide with tears and trembling. Chen. The black market corpses are always protected. At the end of the road, the crystal bursts out of the cabin. The audience's holographic wave mocked and turned to doubt. Yi Wangjing is a mixed blood, a fluke. The tanks slaughtered him, and the T-25 was smashed to pieces. The general's pig liver face twisted into a bark, but Gu Han's trump card was gone, and he wanted to crush the source of the insect. Yi Chen's iron heart exploded as he recalled Lin Fan's crude smile on the blood support, and the message that his mother was weak from the medicine flashed into his mind. He roared and crushed the steel on the bulkhead. Su Wan, Han Xiao, the blueprint field is expanded to the limit. The old man's soul, the black market loyal, the whole nuclear explosion. The engine overload roar increased by 7.1%, the blue vortex hyperspace jump ghost exploded, the Star Hunter merged man and machine as smoothly as a dragon's blood and swept through the air, the ordinary tank's clumsy cannon turned into the air and exploded with mud rain in the pit. In comparison, the Hunter was like a divine shadow passing through the heart of the net. The field's blue net weaves 100 meters thick and buzzes, the heat map steals the tank insect's brain and the red veins flash green dots, teleports and slide sideways to rub the muzzle, sparks rain and melt marks are added, the arm blade pulses with blue light and fills the tracks, iron slurry sprays, the nanonuclear explosion fusion cannon first roars through the turret, blue and white ripples spread, the anti-insect layer purifies red mist explodes and burns the sky. The first tank shell shattered and the cockpit projection distorted and screamed, region, magic soul locking. Marshal. The wreckage hit the earthquake alley, the cruiser's red battery turned and buzzed, Su Wan's pupils shrank suddenly and she screamed, Chen. The fuel has slipped by 68%, overload 8%, the cruiser's egg pulse hatched. Han Zhao's throat was bleeding, the winning rate is 42%, hit the crack in the dome. Baron knelt down with wet eyes and yelled, Yishan killed the tank. 3 nuclear explosive cannons roared and exploded in a row, the blue wave purification tanks poured down with red mist and rain, the shells shattered and the iron rain hit the pit and rumbled, the insect control AI projection screen shattered and roared, and the stench of burnt insects was like a needle pricking the nose. The cruiser turned awkwardly and bombarded the dome with fog and blood. Yi Chen's hunter's blue flame trail swept through the cracks. The man and machine were as smooth as flesh and blood. The fuel was stable at 65%. The field sensed Gu Han's escape trace and the red veins were dormant in the final dome. The black market residual frequency intermittently switched to kneeling and shouting across the interstellar explosion, Yi Wang's nuclear explosion cleans the tanks. The marshal's mole is behind, the Federation is divided and roars, the general wants the mole, the traitor in the VIP area has a cigar smashing the screen. The audience surged with admiration, who is the god in the field? The insect mother's nemesis is against the sky, the final is hot. T-22 points, the Star Hunter breaks out of the blockade, the blue net shrinks and gathers momentum, Yi Chen gasps with sweat and blood, Gu Han, the frost blade will kill you in the field. The giant dome of the finals is like a star core furnace. The competition timer's holographic red light T-20 flashes wildly. Tens of thousands of tons of steel rings hum and weigh heavily on the roof. Millions of holographic projections in the auditorium are howling. The heat wave of engine oil is mixed with ionized ozone. The irrefutable evidence of the Federation split exploded, and the general's projection distorted his face and shouted, Marshall's evidence of insect control. The big continuation. But Yi Chen is wanted. Gray rain poured down from the cigars in the VIP area, and the rebellious nobles stared wide-eyed and trembled, the evil hatchling insect mother controls the Federation. Yi Chen is the ironclad proof. Yi Chen's hunter rumbled down to the center of the field, the blue flame trail pulsed to dissipate heat, the armor's new melt marks nano-climbing buzzed, the synchronization was 99% stable, and the brain insect shadow was wiped out. Su Wan's ponytail was sticky with sweat as she snuggled up to the welding gun outside the cabin. Her eyes were watery and she clenched her fists. Chen, preliminaries for the finals, Gu Han's deputy, the toxic Thorn King. Toxin circulation, Thorn storm, field analysis. Han Zhao's terminal flashed green light and shouted, the winning rate is simulated 55%, the timer starts at T18. The federal ship is outside the field. The red warning lights on the dome flashed, the poisonous Thorn King mecha slammed into the field and rumbled. Gu Han's deputy projected a sinister smile to magnify the ghost, the green and black spines wriggled like thousands of insects eating armor, the stinger arm blades dripped green liquid and sneered at the rotten steel, the engine roared and the hybrid insects chirped, and the toxin field spread green and stink like a carrion burning. The audience ridiculed, the useless insect slave. The poisonous Thorn King Gu Han's iron guard, Thorny Storm kills the semi-finals instantly. The projection of the poisonous Thorn King's cockpit distorted and shouted, Yi Chen, the marshal ordered to purify the source of insects. Gu Han's champion T15 meeting, the poison cycle melts your flesh and blood. The timer reaches 0 and counts down to T15:00. The red light web locks and buzzes. The poison Thorn King clumsily presses his arm blade in the air to blast the pit with mud and poisonous mist. The green liquid rotten armor hisses and smokes pungently. Yi Chen's hunter's fuel was 62% overloaded by 9.2%, the blue network of the field was initially woven with blind spots flashing, the thorn storm exploded with green light and thousands of needles like a torrential downpour, the chi melted through the steel ring and the sparks rained down. The audience screamed and surged, the poisonous thorns are crushed. Yi Shen's fuel is red, and the armor is rotten with 18% new poison marks. Wanting to be overjoyed, Su Wan screamed and threw herself at the welding gun to melt the poisonous mist. Chen. The field analyzes the weakness of the poison circulation, the green pulse of the heart. Han Xiao stared at the avalanche of data, the self-healing speed of the thorn core is crazy, and the winning rate dropped by 32%, Gu Han's projection is dormant. Yi Chen groaned and knelt down in the cabin, blinded by the green fog, and the red-veined insect shadow on the hot map whispered again, submit, poison is immortal. Heart. The anvil of the game of logic hit his heart. He gritted his teeth and recalled the blood loyalty of the team, and roared blood in his throat, nuclear explosion nemesis. The field is fully opened. The synchronized storm surged to 99.5%, the thick blue net buzzed and expanded the entire field, the red veins of the brains of the poisonous spiny insects were sensed, the toxin circulation green dots and weak hearts flashed like spider silk cores, the limit of the ancient empire's magical skill of killing insects, the holographic predicted trajectory was drawn wildly with blue lines. The integration of man and machine deepens the blood flow, the blue whirlpool hyperspace jumps ghostly to dodge the thorn storm, the green needle rain wipes the armor and sneers in the air, and the mud explodes. In contrast, the poisonous thorn clumsily turns around and swings the arm to rumble, and the hunter flies like a dragon shadow and slashes the air with the arm blade and reverses the poisonous sting, sparks and rain of iron slurry. In the audience, Shihua knelt down and shouted, the field predicts the lightning thorn storm. What is the Yi King's magical skill? The poisonous thorn driver's pupils expanded and trembled, impossible, the poison cycle cannot be locked. Yi Chen's field lock green dot teleported through the heart, the fusion cannon nanocore explosion was fully charged and roared through, and the blue and white ripples spread and the antiworm layer was purified. The green and red mist exploded, burning the sky with a scorching smell, the spiny shells shattered and green liquid iron slurry rained down, and the cockpit projection screamed and shattered the screen. Gu Han, the field shattered core. T10:23 Ju. The wreckage hit the field and shook the sky. The steel ring whined, the timer returned to 0 with red light and buzzed, and the tentative champion holographic golden light exploded and flashed Yi Chen Hunter. Su Wan's eyes were filled with tears and she shook her ponytail and screamed, Chen. Temporarily crowned, the god of field analysis. Han Xiao rolled his throat and shouted with his eyes widened, the winning rate is 92%, the audience is excited 1:100. The black market residual frequency echoed across the interstellar kneels and roared, Chen purifies poisonous thorns. The inner ghost of the federal separatist marshal roars to pieces. The admiration of the masses surged like a tsunami. The rebellious nobles in the VIP area smashed the screen and knelt down and trembled. King Yi rebelled against the gods. The mother insect's conspiracy was shattered, and we are temporarily crowned the hegemons. The general's face turned pale and his cigar rein trembled, wanted freeze, to renew the championship in the competition. But the climax was not released, and ghosts cried in the cracks in the dome. Tearing through the sky, Gu Hanhanshuang Overlord Frost Blade Rain's white dragon pressed forward, the black hole insect eggs hatched and exploded with pulsating red light, the Zerg army with thousands of hybrids smashed into the ground and rumbled, the shells squirmed with red pulses, claw arms waved and stinky mucus sprayed, and the engines roared with insects devouring gold, buzzing and devouring the sky. Gu Han projected a ferocious smile with eyes as cold as a ghost. Chen, you are lucky for the time being. The marshal's army of insect mothers sacrificed themselves, slaughtered insect slaves on the field, and the T-8 score finally counted down the corpses. The green and red laser net of the insect tide weaves the lock field, the poisonous fog and frost fields overlap with sub-zero corrosion, the fuel slip is 58% and the overload is 11%, and the armor's poisonous frost marks are newly added with nanometers. At the peak of the crisis, Su-1 rushed forward with a welding gun and swore to defend her to the death. She clenched her fist with iron eyes and yelled, Chen. I will melt the last nano-armor. Han Zhao's terminal went green and he stretched himself with bloodshot eyes. The ironclad proof continues. But the insect army's winning rate dropped by 19%. Brothers, we swear to protect the decisive battle. Baron broke his leg and crawled outside the bloody mud and knelt down and yelled, Chen. The black market soul will always follow. The audience roared in excitement, the insect mother army is attacking. Gu Han controls the slaughterhouse. Chen's cabin was full of sweat and blood, and the blue network of the domain was woven with red pulses. His heart burst and roared, Gu Han, mother of insects. I'm scanning the entire field, and the nuclear explosion dominates. The engine overload roared to 15%, and the blue flame tail gathered force and man and machine were ready to explode. The timer T-7:45 was spinning wildly to count down to the final showdown. Faced with the frost blade black hole, the interstellar legend burned the sky. The steel ring on the dome wails like thousands of ghosts devouring souls. Thousands of insect swarms smash into the ground with thick and rumbling sounds. The red-veined shell armor's crawling claw arms wave the green-red laser net and the weaving locks buzz and pierce. The poisonous mist of mucus is mixed with frost and sub-zero corrosion. The smoke and smoke are pungent. The stench of burnt corpses mixed with iron, rust, and bloody mud covers the sky and the earth. Gu Hanzhuang, the overlord of Hanzhuang, hangs in the air. Dragon frost blades rain down, and the engine black hole insect eggs pulsate and hatch with red light. They explode and roar like the door of hell. The projection smiles evilly and enlarges the pupils of Han Ghost, Chen, temporarily crowned insect slave. The martial insect mother sacrifices the army. T-7:45 The corpse is frozen in ice. I am Gu Han, the new master of the Federation. Millions of holograms in the audience roared in horror and turned to stone, the insect king is overwhelming. Yishen's fuel is 58% overloaded and Nano is struggling. The final slaughterhouse. The traitorous noble Huiyu smashed the screen and turned pale, the ghost marshal sponsors the insect mother. The Yi King's winning rate is 19%. The general's projection distorted the pig liver and broke into pieces, the competition is useless. Gu Han wins the championship. Su-Wan's welding torch melted the nano-blue silk against the hunter's bulkhead. Her ponytail sweat was sticky with frozen purple arms, and she hugged her eyes tightly with iron fire tears falling away from the ice mist. Chen. The blueprint is finally integrated. I love you, from a good-for-nothing to a field god, synchronized rush. The heartbeat resonates and the brain waves are injected like fire veins. The sweat and blood in Chen's cabin are mixed. The green and red blindness heat images are flashing randomly. He groans and kneels with iron teeth, Warner. The team is loyal, I will not fall. Synchronous 99. 8% exploded, the soul of man and machine merged deeply, the radius of the field blue net expanded 500 meters and became thick and buzzing like a dragnet, the nano self-repair speed surged, green light crawled over the poisonous frost and rot marks, and the weapon adaptively flashed in all forms. The arm blade pulse insect-resistant layer was upgraded with blue and white arc jumps. The anti-insect pulse cannon stored nanonuclear explosions merged with the Zerg core red and black vortex. To gain momentum, the heat map locked the weak holographic prediction trajectory, and the blue line wildly painted starburst combos were strengthened. Han Zhao's tall and thin body supported the terminal, his eyes were green and bloodshot, his throat was rolling and rolling. The tactical network is online. The blueprint field expansion predicts Guhan's frozen prison area, and the thermal overload melts the ice-breaking moves to simulate 99%. The ironclad evidence continues that the Federation is divided, and the brothers swear to protect the victory rate is 67%. A green wave of data poured into the hunter's mind, and the blue vortex hyperspace jump ghostly momentum engine was overloaded by 16%, rumbling thickly to suppress the buzzing of insects. Baron crawled out of the bloody mud with a broken leg and screamed, the peak of Shen. Black Market Soul Fusion Blueprint, the insect swarm's broken corpses will kneel forever. The Black Market residual frequency and the entire star knelt and roared intermittently, Domain Expansion Divine Network. Temporarily expand the Divine Network. Guan Yi King's hot explosion at 1:200, Guhan's insect mother's sacrifice joke. Wanting to show off, the remnants of the insect wave first suppressed the laser, green and red torrential downpours of chi melted through the steel ring, and the sparks rained down, and the claw arms were clumsily waved, and the pit exploded with mud. The slime sprayed and the rotten armor smelled like a pile of corpses burning. The hunter's fuel slipped 55% of the armor. The new claw mark nano buzzed and struggled. Su Wan screamed and rushed forward with the welding gun to melt the iron slurry of the claw shell, Chen. The heat map of the residual insect has thousands of red veins. The audience howled in fear, Insect King Claw slaughter. Yishan kneels down to freeze. Guhan's projection twisted with a sinister smile, it's a fluke with the synchronization of the waste wood, the freezing hell domain opens. The insect mother melts my frost blade, and the flesh and blood is frozen at T7:30. Yichen roared and crushed the steel of the bulkhead. The blue network of the field was fully open to scan the insect wave heat map to steal the red veins and weak points of the insect brain. The green dots flashed like the pulse of the galaxy. The ancient empire's insect-slaying magical skills exploded to the limit, the entire field scanned and buzzed through the dome. The blue line predicts the trajectory of the web and instantly depicts the path of all insects. The integration of man and machine is as smooth as a dragon's blood. The blue whirlpool hyperspace ghost dodges through the laser net and swipes through the green mist. The arm blade pulse cuts through the remaining insect shell and iron slurry sprays red mist. The anti-insect pulse cannon blasts nanonuclear explosions and roars through the insect core. The blue and white ripples spread and purify the scorched sky. The shattered claws of the remaining army smash the field with a rumbling and ear-piercing sound. The driving projection only echoes like needles piercing the brain. The ordinary insect swarm turned around awkwardly and swung its claws into the air to blast away the mud and rain. Compared with the Hunter Divine Shadow, it swept through the air and cleared the field. The fuel stabilized at 53% overload and 17% of the nanometers were fully repaired. Su Wan's pupils shrank suddenly and she screamed with joy and shed tears of joy, Chen. Territory. Sweeping the whole field, the insects are all gone, what's the magic? Han Zhao's green light avalanche opened his eyes wide and screamed with blood in his throat, the winning rate is 89%. Scanning and rehearsing the ultimate freeze-breaking move, the thermal overload melts the ice and locks the core of Gu Han's black hole. The audience turned petrified and knelt down to shout a tsunami. The field has been swept away by the insect tide. The ancient scanning of the divine net is against the sky, and King Yi is temporarily crowned with a 1:500 hit. The nobles in the VIP area smashed the screen, knelt down and trembled with tears. God Yi purifies the remnants of the army. The ghost inside the marshal is shattered, and Gu Hanchong is the laughing stock. Long Shui's eyes were wet and he roared, "Kneel down forever, Scanner Emperor." The black market residual frequency kneeled down and exploded in full frequency. King Yi slaughters insects. The Federation is split and shattered, the final champion is determined. Gu Han's projected pupils shrank and he smiled fiercely. Scan, the ancient ruins are a fluke. The frozen prison domain fully activated, the insect king's core fuses. The red light of the timer starts to buzz at T6:50, the black hole of the Frost Overlord engine roars and rumbles thickly, the Frost Blade rain, the white dragon dances wildly in the sub-zero field, the poisonous fog shishi, the frozen rotten steel ring whines, the mecha mutates and merges with the insect king's core red, the black pulse squirmed, the armor doubled in thickness. The green and red frost thorns on the claws and arms were intertwined with dripping rotten ice, which was pungent. The white and green mist of the frozen hell domain spread and the whole place was buzzing at -50 degrees. The audience froze and screamed, "Gu Han, the mutant insect king." The prison domain melts blood, and Yishin's fuel is 50% red. The crisis subsided again, the hunter's blue flame trail pulse struggled, the nanofrost covered with buzzing and slow, the blue network of the domain flashed with cracks in the first freeze, Su Wanfrog purple fluttered and held the welding gun to melt the ice and roared, "Chen. Thermal overload preview. My heart pulse protector is synchronized." Han Zhao's data was green and bloodshot, his eyes widened, the prison domain is self-healing at a crazy speed, and the winning rate dropped by 72%. But the scan locks the green dot of the insect king in the cabin. Yi Chen's vision in the cabin is white and green, and the heat map and the red veins are whispering and surrendering to the devil's voice. The psychological anvil is crushing his heart. He recalls his mother's weakness due to the medicine, Lin Fan's blood support, and his team's death. He roared and spurted blood from his throat, "Gu Han, the insect king has mutated." The thick buzz of the blue net counterattacks the prison domain, scans and steals Gu Han's insect king's brain, the red vein weak point, the green dot flashes, the heart's black hole core, the ancient prediction blue line wildly draws the frost thorn trajectory, teleports, slides, wipes the blade, white mist air bursts, contrasts with the frost overlord's clumsy turn of the rudder claw, swings the rumble pit, and the frost rain. The hunter's ghost jumps back with the arm blade to slash the frost thorn, sparks, rain, iron slurry, green and red mist explosion. The audience knelt down and roared, "Heat energy melts ice." The domain predicts breaking through the prison domain, Yi King's man, machine and God are one. Gu Han's distorted projection voice trembled with laughter, "Impossible. Can't the insect king's fusion be locked?" Marshal. Yi Chen's domain field lock green dot teleported through the black hole core, the nanonuclear explosion fused with the Zerg core and roared through the blue and red ripples. Chi, the frost overlord's shell shattered and claws were broken. Iron rain hit the ground and rumbled. The mutated red pulse pulsed and shattered. The insect king's core exploded and blood mist poured down. Gu Han's pupils expanded in the cockpit projection and he howled in despair, "Field scan, ancient empire. My champion, the broken corpse of the insect mother." No, the bulkhead melted through and hot slurry sprayed. His figure was twisted and regretful, kneeling in an iron-green posture and the screen shattered. The rain of frost blades broke and white mist flew away. The wreckage hit the earthquake dome, the steel ring shattered and screamed, the timer's red light returned to zero at T0:12, and the golden light exploded, and the holographic champion Yi Chen Hunter shined in the galaxy. Fuel stability is 48%, overload is reduced by 18%, and synchronization is 100% rock stable. Su Wan's eyes were filled with tears, her ponytail was swung and she was screaming with joy, Chen. Champion, the god who sweeps the field, I will love you forever. Han Zhao's throat rolled and his eyes were rounded, shouting blood and tears, 100% winning rate. It is irrefutable to win the interstellar, brothers dominate. Baron broke his leg, knelt down and roared in tears, Ye Emperor. The black market soul champion will protect you forever. Millions of spectators surged. Tsunami knelt down and worshipped, Yi Chen is an interstellar legend. Invincible in ancient scanning, Gu Han, the insect king, kneels in despair. The nobles in the VIP area smashed the screen, knelt down and trembled, champion against the gods. The marshal's inner ghost is purified, and the Federation's newborn emperor Yi. The general projected a white cigar into pieces and knelt down and yelled, wanted withdrawal. Contest overlord Yi Chen, the mother insect conspiracy has been wiped out. The full frequency of the black market kneels and roars echo across the interstellar, Yi D domain sweeps away the championship. The betting is over 100 million, the passionate legend is burning. The holographic tide surges with worship and burning, the golden light pulses on the dome dissipate heat, Yi Chen gasps and sweats and whispers in the cabin, Gu Han, do you regret breaking up the body? My family debt is cleared, mother's medicine continues, the interstellar overlord begins. But the remaining veins of the black hole deep in the cracks in the dome murmured and flashed with red light, and the ghostly shadow of the marshal's inner ghost whispered, Yi Chen. The insect mother seeds will last forever, and the cosmic conspiracy continues. The team is determined to gain momentum, and the championship is ready for a new battle. The pulse of the afterglow of the dome's golden light dissipated, the hissing hot steam mixed with the pungent stench of scorched corpses, rust, blood and mud, the edge of the broken steel ring whistled like a defeated dog panting, the remains of the frost overlord twisted and collapsed, red and black pulses pulsed with green juice and blood at the cracked shell armor. The fog slowly seeped out, and the fragments of the insect king's core rumbled and smashed into the pit, splashing with mud. Gu Han's cockpit melted through the hot slurry and solidified into an iron tumor. His distorted figure was kneeling in a frozen and livid posture. The despairing howl with dilated pupils projected on the broken screen echoed and faded like a ghost sigh. The Star Hunter stood in the center, the residual temperature of the blue flames buzzed, the engine roared and the frequency slowed down, the nano-green light crawled over the new claw marks, all healed, the field blue net slowly closed the 500-meter radius weaving net, buzzing like the aftertaste of the sky, synchronized 100% rock stable, the brain insect shadow was extinguished forever. The fuel needle stabilized from 48% overload to 12%, the green dot of the holographic heat map flashed, the entire field scan aftermath, stolen insect brain residual pulse data poured into Yi Chen's mind. The millions of holographic waves in the audience turned from petrification to kneeling in the sea, and the roar of worship was like a starburst combo that rumbled and shook the steel frame of the dome, Yi Emperor. Sweeping the field, the champion is invincible, Gu Han, the insect king, smashed his corpse and knelt down, and the ancient scanning net burned the sky. The rebellious nobles in the VIP area smashed the screen and knelt down, trembling with cigars, gray rain mixed with old tears, pig liver faces twisted, and they kowtowed in ecstasy. Yi Chen purifies the marshal's inner ghost. The new overlord of the Federation, the black market will always kneel hot. Exploding 100 million. The general's white cigar shattered and he knelt down and choked up, the wanted competition is overturned by Yi Chen, and the insect mother's conspiracy is wiped out. The mother's drug fee is all paid by the Federation, and the family debt will be cleared for eternal glory. The black market's broken legs continue to explode like a volcanic eruption, Baron's broken leg is forever protected, the black market soul fusion blueprint kills the insect emperor. Yi Chen was breathing heavily with sweat and blood in the cabin. His iron teeth loosened his bite mark and his bloodshot vision faded. The green and red blindness heat map faded away. He muttered and crushed the steel on the bulkhead, Gu Han. Do you regret breaking up the body? I went from a waste would advance to an interstellar legend, and my mother's medicine continued to clear the family debt. The team is loyal and loyal. The heat map locked on the remaining veins of the black hole deep in the crack in the dome. The red light flashed and murmured like a heartbeat. The shadow of the marshal's inner ghost faded away and whispered, "Insect mother seed, cosmic conspiracy." But the golden light of the champion pressed down. At the top, Chen pushed open the hatch. The blue flame trail pulsed out and landed heavily on the ground with a rumbling earthquake. The armored arm blade restrained the blue and white arc of the jump. The passerby technician stared with wide eyes, his throat rolled and trembled, and he knelt, "Ye Emperor, the limit of human-machine integration." The hand is intact and fully repaired, scanning the divine net to steal the insect brain. "We will always kneel." The hot-blooded ponytailed girl on the edge of the auditorium kowtows with blurred eyes, the useless god rebels. The blue net of the domain is woven into the sky, and the ice in Guhan's prison domain is flying away, the new interstellar master. Su Wan's welding gun scoffed and threw off her blue silk ponytail, which was sticky with sweat. She turned around and hugged Yi Chen's iron arms, her tall figure shivering with tears, throwing away the ice mist. She screamed and choked with joy, "Chen! Champion!" The blueprint finally integrates the magic skills of sweeping the field. I went from being a waste of money to loving you forever. My heart resonates and surges at the same time without regrets. Yi Chen's thick arms hugged her frozen purple waist, and he roared with sweat and blood in his nose, "Wan! Son, the welding gun melts with the nano to protect my blue network, the team will fight to the death, I love you Iron Fire." Han Zhao's tall and thin body supported the terminal, his bloodshot eyes were round, and his throat was rolling with blood and tears. "Brother's winning rate is 100%. The Tactics Network's hot map predicts that he will win the Interstellar, hack into the Marshal's inner ghost and split the Federation. I swear to protect the new war, and Emperor Yi will dominate." He knelt down and punched the pit, and the blood and frost were torn to reveal the scars and burned in worship. Baron's broken leg was crawling out of the blood and mud, and the old tearful mixed blood roared at the edge of the dome, the peak of Yi Emperor. The black market soul fusion blueprint champion will always kneel, and the broken leg will crawl to protect the god. The fat face of the black market projection boss was distorted and he knelt down with a gray rain of cigars smashing the screen. "Full frequency will always kneel Yi Emperor." The bets are over 100 million, the black market resources are fully activated, and the mechas are upgraded to the ancient empire files. In the holographic tide, the federal general came to the dome in person to the projection entity, with a sinister face. Bai Zhuan knelt down respectfully and yelled roughly, "Overlord Yi Chen. The federal fleet will send the mother's medicine directly to her recovery. The family manor will be moved into the interstellar mansion immediately. The winner of the competition will receive a prize pool of 1 billion federal coins plus the key to the ancient ruins. The black hole will be fully purified and the Marshal's ghost hunting order will be issued to all the stars." The audience knelt down and roared with boiling petrification worship. Yi Emperor's mother's medicine continues. The Federation's newly born luxury land will be worth 1 billion, and the ruin key will kill the insect god. The desire to rise is suppressed first, the aftermath of the crack in the dome is low, the black hole is humming, the red veins are flashing slightly, the lingering green mist of the mother insect seed is slowly seeping, and the rotten steel ring is pungent. The technicians and passers-by are screaming in fear and retreating. Insect seeds will last forever. The crack in the dome roars, the champion is not powerful enough. Su Wan's pupils shrank suddenly, the welding gun chi-chi, the melting green fog, frozen, and the purple arms trembled. "Chen. The seeds are pulsating. The blueprint nanometer self-repair speed can't keep up." Han Zhao's terminal is green and gleaming. Eyes flashing with bloodshot eyes, his throat biting blood, the remaining veins of the data heal themselves, the cosmic conspiracy continues. The winning rate is predicted to be 88% of the new enemy. But Yi Chen roared and crushed the steel, the blue network of the field expanded instantly and buzzed thickly, and the green dots flashed wildly to steal the red vein heat map. The ancient scanning divine network's extreme aftermath scanned the whole field, and the blue line predicted the trajectory instantaneously, drawing the seed's weakness. The integration of man and machine was as smooth as the dragon's blood galloping, and the blue whirlpool ghost was gathering momentum. The arm blade pulse cuts through the cracks, the iron slurry sprays and explodes with red mist, the anti-insect pulse cannon nanonuclear explosion fuses with the Zerg core, roars through the green dots, blue and white ripples spread and purify the scorched sky, the seed shell shatters, the red veins crack, low-pitched, eternal destruction, the steel ring buzzes and heals. Technicians and passers-by stared with wide eyes and trembling throats and knelt down and roared with joy. The remnants of Ye Emperor's field are swept away. The insect species are invincible, and the divine net slaughters the universe. Su Wan screamed and burst into tears of joy. Chen. The aftermath of the scan is purified. I love you, Iron Blood. Han Zhao's green light roared steadily. The winning rate is 100%. Get ready for a new battle. Millions of spectators knelt and roared. Ye Emperor swept away the remnants. The interstellar legend is ignited, and the Federation will be reborn forever. The hologram of the Golden Glow Championship prize pool arrived with a heavy buzz, and the green tide of billions of federal coins poured into Yi Chen's chip. The holographic projection of his mother's pale face turned rosy with a smile and tearful eyes. Chener, the medicine continued to recover, and the good-for-nothing son became the emperor. The family debt was cleared and the manor hologram unfolded. The interstellar luxury realm was magnificent, and Lin Fan's blood trust blueprint projection flashed. The final file was unlocked, the complete map of the ruins of the ancient empire plus the upgrade of the black hole hyperspace engine. Yi Chen smiled roughly and raised the hunter projection with his iron arm. I counterattack. The team is loyal, the black market resources are open, the Federation is reborn. The black market boss projection kowtowed with a fat face. Ye Emperor. The black market laboratory is fully opened, the nanonuclear blaster mother nemesis is upgraded to the limit, and the anti-worm layer plus thermal overload ice melting module is injected immediately. Baron broke off his leg and climbed up to Lai Lai and shouted, Soul protection upgrade. The hunter engine rumbles and the thick black hole file is fully melted. Su Wan's ponytail flicked and the blue wire of the welding gun was injected into the hunter's bulkhead. The nano-green light storm crawling engine hummed and increased in frequency, the heat map locked the weak holographic predicted trajectory and the blue lines were densely woven, the anti-insect pulse cannon's red and black vortex was charging and starburst combos were strengthened, and the blue vortex hyperspace jump was ghostly and smooth, and the human-machine integration was deepened to the limit. She pressed her frozen purple lips to Yi Chen's ear and breathed hotly, Chen. The upgrade blueprint resonates with my heart, I love you from depositing money to Empress. Han Zhao's terminal green tide hacked into the federal network and shouted, Iron Proof continues. The Marshal's ghost fleet is locked, and the tactical network predicts the new arena, brothers dominate the universe. The hot-blooded young man in the audience fell on the ground and kowtowed with eyes wide, worshipping and burning. Ye Emperor upgrades the mythical beast. The hunter has an invincible field of 1 kilometer, and the interstellar competition is scheduled to continue. The federal general knelt down and presented the key to the ruins. The golden light flashed, and he roared with a humble face, Overlord Yi. Open all the ruins of the ancient empire, scan the source of the divine network to kill insects. The Mother's recovery ship is directly connected, and the powerful domain is backed by the Eternal Federation. Yi Chen received the key and clenched it with his iron fist, making a sound in the air, roaring and sweeping. The whole audience knelt down at the sea. Gu Han's corpse is a laughing stock, and the insect mother's seeds are flying into ashes. Yi Chen, the interstellar legend has begun, and the cosmic conspiracy has swept the entire audience. The holographic tide surged in worship and roared in the interstellar. Ye Emperor is invincible. The blue network of the field weaves the universe, the black market federation will kneel forever, and the new battle will burn the sky. Outside the dome, Su Wan embraced Yi Chen with trembling arms and burst into tears. Chen, nuclear teleportation, you are a legend. Han Xiao spit out from the terminal, the traitor in the Rebel Federation, Gu Han is the leader. But Lin Fan, with livid hair and beard, revealed the secret in a low voice, boy, the political conspiracy behind Gu Han, the top leaders of the Federation, the Black Hole Project has been revived. The ancient mecha is not an insect-slaying artifact, but the key to the universe's annihilation war. The traitor fled to the cruiser, and the final is the slaughterhouse. The muzzle of the cruiser is red again, the crisis is surging like a black hole swallowing a star, the timer is spinning in the mind, and the blue flame is ready to go. The residual heat of the steel frame of the dome dissipated, and the nano-green light crawled over the edge of the crack like a vein of living blood and buzzed and healed, the blue flame trail hummed low, the Star Hunter stood like an immortal god of war, the engine rumbled like a heavy heartbeat, ready to go, and the stench of burnt corpse rust and green juice in the air slowly diluted into the iron smell of victory. Yi Chen's iron arms hugged Su Wan's frozen purple waist, and he shouted loudly over the entire audience, "The team is iron-blooded, I, Yi Chen, have gone from being a waste of money to being an interstellar emperor. Gu Han's corpse is a laughing stock, and the insect species has been turned into ashes." But his pupils shrank suddenly, and the green dots of the heat map flashed wildly to lock on the hidden red veins deep in the dome. The ghostly projection distorted and emerged, his face turned pale and he grinned crazily, his bloodshot eyes were round and his throat was rolling with a whisper that exploded into a full-frequency roar, "Yi Chen. Do you purify the epidermal seeds? Ha ha ha. The true insect mother seeds have spread across the stars, and the ultimate insect emperor in the black hole abyss has awakened. The demons in the Federal fleet are all open, and the rebels are swarming to swallow the stars. Champion. Marshal, I will let you kneel down." The audience of 1,000,000 knelt down and turned to stone. The roars of admiration became stuck in their throats and turned into howls of terror. The hot-blooded young ponytailed girl stared in tears and retreated with sweat. She screamed, "Marshal's ultimate conspiracy. The seeds are spread all over the star, Yi Emperor's champion is not powerful enough. The star is dead." The new nobles in the VIP area smashed the screen and knelt down, trembling with cigars and rain. Their pig-liver faces twisted and kowtowed in despair, the ghost fleet is fully deployed. The Federation is divided and turned into ashes. We will always kneel to Yi Emperor, but Insect Emperor, wake up and die. The black market projection boss knelt down with a pale face and choked up, "Yi Emperor. The black market resources are fully opened, but the ultimate seed black hole is worth billions of blood and turned into ashes." The Federal General's physical projection descended on the dome, his liver-faced cigar was smashed, his throat rolled, and he roared, "The fleet is locked in pursuit, but the seeds are scattered all over the star, and the mother's recovery ship is engulfed by the wave of terror insects." Su Wan's tall figure froze and trembled. The welding gun scoffed and dropped the blue silk. The iron fire beads in her eyes shook off the ice mist. She screamed and hugged Yi Chen's iron arms, "Chen. The ultimate seed black hole pulses. The blueprint nanometer self-study speed can't catch up. I love you iron fire but interstellar death." Han Zhao's tall and thin body supported the terminal with green bloodshot eyes and round throat biting blood. The old military uniform was torn by blood and frost, and the scars were burned. Trembling and roaring, "Brother." Tactical Network Hot Picture Prediction Insect Emperor. The winning rate of the awakening dropped by 12%, and the iron proof of hacking into the Federal Network was fully activated, but the rebels surged into the black hole engine, and the new battle turned into ashes. Baron's broken leg was crawling in the mud, and the mixed blood was rolling down his throat and shouted in despair, "Yi Emperor's peak soul protection." But the ultimate insect emperor will always kneel down in the black market and become ashes. The passerby technician retreated with his eyes wide open and cried softly, "The blue net of the champion is in the sky, but the black hole seed, we kneel down and die." The desire to rise was first suppressed to the bottom. Yi Chen's sweat and blood flowed in the cabin, and the iron teeth crushed the blood threads. He roared and pressed the steel wall of the bulkhead with a rumble, martial old dog, smash the body to pieces and Guhan's remnants. I scan the divine net to kill the universe in ancient times. The integration of man and machine is deepened to the limit, and the consciousness is fully synchronized to 100%. The brain insect shadow is forever extinguished like a dragon's blood, and the Star Hunter engine is rushing. The roar surged and was as thick as a star core pulse. The blue flame trail pulse sprayed thin nano-green light and rushed across the entire armor. The blue net of the field instantly expanded for 1,000 meters, buzzing and weaving the sky and the earth. The green dots of the heat map flashed wildly and the entire interstellar scan went wild. The entire map of the ruins of the ancient empire unlocked the black hole, the hyperspace engine, the red vein weakness, and the blue line was instantly drawn to predict the ghostly and smooth trajectory. The fuel needle is stably overloaded by 48% and the energy core is overloaded by 12%. The green tide surges, the anti-worm layer thermal energy overloaded ice melting module is injected into the charge, and the starburst combo strengthens the blue vortex hyperspace jump like a ghost blood shadow. The marshal's inner ghost projection smiled ferociously and his pupils suddenly shrank. Impossible. The black hole seed is secret. But Yi Chen's arm blade pulse cut open the crack in the dome, the iron slurry sprayed and red mist exploded, the anti-insect pulse cannon nanonuclear explosion merged with the Zerg core and roared through the green dip, the blue and white ripples spread for thousands of meters and purified the scorched and stinking sky, the black hole abyss's red veins collapsed and whispered forever, the ultimate seed shell shattered, green juice and blood mist evaporated into ashes. Full-frequency ironclad evidence that the green tide hacked into the federal network. Han Zhao's terminal had a steady green light and roared with blood and tears. The winning rate is 100%. The entire fleet of the Marshal's inner ghost is locked, and the rebel surge heat map prediction is in vain. Millions of people in the audience turned to stone and knelt down in tsunami worship, and the roar was like a starburst combo that rumbled in the dome. Ye, the imperial field sweeps all the stars. The ultimate insect emperor is invincible, and the divine network slays the black hole in the universe. The technician's eyes widened and his throat rolled and trembled, and he knelt in ecstasy. Yidi's man-machine integration is at its limit. Scan the aftermath to purify the entire star. We will always kneel in the sea of fire. Su Wan screamed and turned to tears of joy. She threw her purple arms tightly and hugged Yi Chen with a rough smile. Chen. The resonance of the blueprint's heart pulse sweeps the black hole. I love you from the advance to the eternal iron fire of the Emperor. She snorted the welding gun and injected the final nano-blue wire. The Hunter bulkhead hummed, the upconverter engine rumbled, the thick black hole hyperspace jumped, the ghost deepened. Han Zhao's green wave hacked into the entire interstellar network, smashed the pits with his iron fist, splashed the mud, and roared, Brothers, irrefutable evidence has been revealed. The Marshal's rebellion has been completely purged, and the Federation's new hegemon, Yi Emperor. The black market boss's fat face twisted and knelt down in the grey rain of cigars, kowtowing. Yi Emperor kneels down forever. The ultimate upgrade of the black market laboratory, the insect mother nemesis, is always open, and billions of resources are poured into the Hunter Emperor file. Baron broke off his leg and crawled closer to Lai Lai, shouting, "The soul protects the black hole. The broken leg always crawls to protect the god." The Federation General Zhugan's face turned pale and he knelt down and yelled in a holographic manner, "Overlord Yi." The annihilation of the Marshal's ghost fleet has confirmed that the purge of the rebel nobles has surged. The new students of the Federation will always worship Emperor Yi. The Mother's recovery ship has arrived in the wealthy territory, the fleet of medicines will always be covered, and the interstellar manor will expand the empire. The hologram surged in worship and roared to shock the interstellar. Emperor Yi made public the irrefutable evidence. The mother insect conspiracy is wiped out, the Federation is reborn, and the champion will shine forever. The green tide of the golden light prize pool is clanging, and the chips are booming. 1 billion federal coins are stabilizing, and the black market resources are fully activated. The nanonuclear explosion is strengthening, and the mother's holographic projection appears in Yi Chen's field of vision with a pale face and a rosy smile. Chenner, the medicine continues to recover, the loser becomes the interstellar emperor, mother will watch you patrol the universe forever. The final projection of Lin Fan's blood care blueprint flashes and unlocks all levels, the entire map of the ancient empire's ruins unfolds with golden light, the black hole hyperspace engine upgrade pulses and buzzes, Chen raises his thick arm and the hunter projects an iron roar and scans the kneeling sea, teacher Lin Fan's legacy, I continue to slaughter the source of insects. Gu Han's corpse is broken, the marshal is turned into ashes, the team's blood loyalty will not fall, and the Star Hunter patrols the interstellar for dominance. Su Wan shook her ponytail and breathed close to her ears, Chen, the Queen's welding gun is with you, and the heart resonates forever. Han Zhao's bloodshot eyes burned with admiration and he knelt down and yelled, the Tactics Network predicts that the brothers will dominate the new arena. The enthusiastic young man in the audience kowtowed to the ground and shouted with tears in his eyes, the hunter's domain is thousands of meters long, and the legend is burning in the sky forever. The golden light champion of the dome arrives forever, the Star Hunter's blue flame trail pulses out thickly and takes off in the rumbling earthquake field, the engine roars like a star core explosion, man and machine merge smoothly to shuttle through the black hole and jump in hyperspace, the ghostly trajectory of the blue vortex cuts through the starry sky. The heat map holographic prediction blue line is densely woven to lock the source of all star insects. The entire interstellar live broadcast is kneeling down, the black market is kneeling down forever, the federal fleet is escorting the new students, and the rebel party's purge is irrefutable, and the green tide is washing away the shadows. Yi Chen's sweat and blood dried up in the cabin and Tai Xiao murmured, I have successfully counterattacked, from a waste of money to a legendary overlord, my mother's smile, my team's iron support, and the universe kneeling down. Su Wanfrog's purple lips kissed her iron arms and she choked with joy, I love you forever. Han Zhao's terminal green light roared, the winning rate is 100% in the universe patrol. The Star Hunter stands tall and cruises through the stars, the field blue net weaves the sky and scans the divine net with a buzzing sound, the nano-green light forever climbs the thick carapace, the anti-insect pulse cannon is ready for a starburst combo, and the blue vortex hyperspace ghost patrols the source of insects. Millions of planets knelt in the sea and worshipped and roared like stars, Emperor Yi Yongyao. The legendary overlord of the Star Hunters, counterattack and ignite the universe with justice. The green mist of the black hole abyss is extinguished forever, the shadow of the marshal's inner ghost's broken corpse fades away, the foundation of the new federal empire is built, the mother's wealthy and golden mother embraces the family with a smile, Su Wan and Han Zhao's iron heart accompanied by the welding gun tactical network pulsates and resonates. Yi Chen held the key to the ruins in his iron fist and roared forever, I, Yi Chen, am invincible in the interstellar world. The ancient Mecha sweeps the whole place, consciousness awakens simultaneously, and the legendary overlord of the universe will live forever. The remaining heat in the dome dissipated, the steel ring healed and hummed calmly, the hunter engine rumbled thickly and was downshifted, the team left the field with Yi Chen in their heart and passers-by technicians trembled and knelt down to get out of the way, worshipping and burning like a sea of fire. But deep in the crack, a red vein shimmers and whispers, and it disappears in an instant. The marshal's inner ghost whispers ghostly, Yi Chen, the seeds are scattered all over the star, and the ultimate insect emperor awakens. The champion is gaining momentum, and the shadow of a new battle is approaching. The whole interstellar tide surges eternally, the Star Hunter's blue flame traces an eternal arc, the engine rumbles and the heart beats endlessly, man and machine are integrated into extreme hunting, the blood-sucking counterattack is successfully released, and the legend is immortal and shining in the galaxy.